Do you want to be a part of the CoCo community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCoNation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening, or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, CoCo thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, CoCo commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or CoCo Tech. Join the CoCoNation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCoNation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy color computer, its siblings, cousins, and red-headed stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CoCoNation episode 350. How's everybody doing?
Not too bad.
I'm good.
You're gonna find out.
All right, let's see who we got on the panel today. In the upper right-hand corner. What's all
We
that
got
noise?
a noise going on.
Drum roll, I thought.
Okay, so it wasn't just me.
Could be.
Could be.
All right, upper left-hand corner, we got Kevin Holloway.
Hello, everybody.
Not Kevin.
You're a 49ers fan, right?
You can tell, huh?
Yeah.
All right, next over, yours truly. Then we got Patrick Euland
Howdy, folks.
and Ron Delvaux.
Live and interactive, as it says.
Yep, and L Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone. And why are you still playing football in February?
Hasn't frozen here yet.
Let's see, Terry Steege
Welcome, everyone.
and Henry Gernhard.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the CoCoNation. My name's Henry, and today we might actually have a less than 4-hour show.
Could
Don't be
be.
so happy about that.
Just for that, I'm going to stretch the news out.
Now the news.
Competing
top
for
speed.
enthusiasm with David Ladd. Let's see, Marco.
Hey, y'all. Glad to be here.
Okay, and Ken Waters.
Way to go, Henry. You just gave Curtis a challenge to make the show longer than 4 hours.
And Alan.
Hey,
Exile in
howdy.
Paradise.
Wait.
Okay, and David Ladd.
Why, hello everyone, and welcome to the show today. Please sit, stay a while, and enjoy the the show.
Stay forever.
Enjoy the crap, everybody.
And we got Bob Embry.
Howdy, folks.
Television is turned off.
Where's Nick?
Hi, Bob.
Shh, don't say his name. He'll suddenly appear.
No, you got to say it 3 times.
Oh, that was only once.
No, Nick, it just works once.
What kind of a dilemma do we have here?
Not the other Nick.
Let's see. Over in the chat, we've got Michael's wife. How do I pronounce that? Is it Zwiffle?
Sweeful?
Whatever it is, I'm sure I butchered it pretty good. Tim Franklin, Daddy Burrito. Panelist. Tim Franklin. Daddy Burrito again. Let's see. Tom Eric Gunderson. Mark Siegel.
Jim Rye.
Okay. Scroll. Fred Provancha. Welcome, everybody. Okay, let's see. First up, shall we talk about Amigos?
Yes. So the Amigos are doing their 7th annual Amigathon, which is a fundraiser that they've been doing. This is the 7th year now. And it's basically for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And over the previous 6 years, they've raised almost $30,000. And their goal this year is $5,000. Last time I checked, I think they're around 3 or something.
They're at 38, 39.
Oh, just about at 4. So they're doing good this year. But it's for a good cause. And basically they spend 12 hours. They started at 8 p.m. Eastern this morning. And they'll be going till 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, just playing a bunch of Amiga games, interacting with the audience, etc., and just listening for donations. And they donate it to the Children's Hospital. And they don't keep a cent themselves. It all goes to the hospital. So it's a good cause.
And whose living room is that?
That's Boats.
Is that Boats? Yeah, okay. I don't know. Are they going to make it the 12 hours?
Oh yeah, they make it. They way back they started doing it for 24 hours, so this is actually cutting it back quite a bit. That one they were having trouble with making it through.
And so after today's show, check in and find out.
Yep, and then if you have some spare money to donate for kids, you know, who have to go to the hospital, it's a good cause to donate to too. And if you want to get there, you can go to amigathon.com, I think it is.
Yeah, there's a in the upper left-hand corner of our screen in the upcoming events section, there's their link, their website.
Okay.
Don't know if anyone can read it that small, but
Yeah, it's amigathon.com if you want to donate though, and it's actually got a link to the live feed too. So they're broadcasting this year, newly this year, they're broadcasting about Twitch and YouTube.
Go amigos.
Right. Okay, and let's see. Today we'll open up with project updates. So that's this button. Where is the button? I know it's in here somewhere. There it is. Gotta find it. All right, so let's see. Shall we start off with Bob?
You're muted, Bob.
There he is.
Okay, am I here?
Yep.
You're here.
All right, I'm gonna actually switch over to my other camera. All right.
Look at that
so
pretty Coco.
some of you have seen this guy before. This was my very first color computer one from Christmas 1981 or 82. Got the built-in joystick, the fan, a few other holes here and there, giant side ventilation switch and stuff. So I've kind of been thinking about restoring this case, the cover. I actually filled in a couple of holes here with some white epoxy, but then the other day I actually managed to acquire something here.
A brand new cover.
Appears to be new old stock.
It was wrapped in plastic.
Yeah, it was in a bag, and
did not
none of these holes have threads in them, so this has never been used. It has this door permanently attached, whereas mine had the plastic frame here, so that's a little bit different. So this, I'm gonna have to take this off to get this to fit.
It won't work with both.
Yeah, the
Right.
F boards had the door mounted on the top.
Okay, so an F board top.
Yeah.
And looking at the RAM cover, I think your board's a little older than that.
Possibly that RAM is under here. This is, I mean, this is an F board.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Is it?
It is. It was a older silver case F board.
Huh.
But yeah.
You painted your RAM cover?
No.
No, it's just
That's
silver
just
metal.
oxidized.
Oh,
They pretty
doesn't
much
look
all
like-
do that.
Right.
I've never seen one oxidized.
It's
I
because you're
could
in
have swore that was an
Arizona.
older version of the motherboard, though, from looking at it.
Pretty sure it's.
Well, yeah, but where'd the case come from is the question. Who cares where the motherboard came from? The
Yeah, or
add-on
the
thing
new
is the
lid.
case.
Yeah, the lid that I've got, that's kind of a mystery. I mean, it's got the
Well, so the lid's a late F board lid, but the case bottom that you've got, where's that from? Did that come
I mean,
with that
that's the
motherboard, or
original.
was that
Yeah.
from some other?
yeah, this
Really?
is the original case that I got with the CoCo.
With that board? So now I'm confused as well.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they did not replace the board, but it might have been replaced under warranty. But surely they had to use the same board because earlier boards would have had different post locations.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, and it's got Mylar instead of a pin header, so
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
So having a look at mine on the F board, yeah, the door is on the bottom, or bolted to the bottom. I think just like yours is. Looking
Yeah,
at
and
my,
you have to remove the motherboard to get that off.
yeah, looking at my D board, It appears that the case or the door was in the top case. At least it used to be. But your RAM badge is in the middle, like an F board. That's an interesting combination.
Yep.
It's got bits of both.
I got one more thing here that I got in the mail yesterday. Held off opening it just for this moment. So brand new order from Cloud9. And I didn't get it.
I want to make sure that wasn't going to open up in the mail, huh?
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
Oh, brute force.
See if we can.
We got some stinking badges.
Nice.
Oh, 2 meg.
Yeah.
Does it have a plastic on the top of it?
Plastic. No, it's a CoCo 3 badge. I've got a 2 meg board and a protector socket for the 6309. Should be a couple of 6309s in here too, I believe, or at least one. Oh, that's the memory board.
The Triad Plus.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we got the protector board and extra 6309. So this is basically gonna go into one of my machines. Maybe this one, maybe not.
Nice keyboard.
Yeah, I love this keyboard. This is the one I made. Mr. Dave, 6309 keyboard. And I have I just ordered some new new Cherry MX keys for the second one I'm gonna make. So I went with a heavier spring with the Cherry Blacks. So we'll see how that goes. But just to feel the difference, I like this one. It feels slightly lighter than the CoCo 3, but it feels like typing on butter.
Like butter.
Nice.
So it feels greasy is what you're saying?
Feels smooth.
I wasn't going to try and interpret.
Right.
That's pretty much all I got.
Mark Overholzer will try to lick it.
Mhm.
It has butter on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got.
Yeah, and you have to use the protector to get 2 out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the dat board's there.
Yeah, the dat board's on the protector, I think.
Yeah. I
Extra
got one like
address
that.
lines.
It was the same thing.
Yep, yep.
No. Yeah, same thing.
It appears Mark is just being sat on.
What?
Oh, okay.
Marco, he's being sat on.
Oh, okay. I can't see him at the moment.
His
Yes, he is
So
currently.
if you're talking
acting as
Cloud9,
a
I thought
cat
you meant.
perch.
No, okay, yeah.
he's cantankerous.
Now, everybody here on the show should bug Mark Marlette, the other Mark, from Cloud9, to actually list on his website that he sells 2 meg upgrades because he still doesn't.
Yeah, just
really?
email him directly. That's what I did, and he sent me a reply with a quotation. I went ahead and paid, and he sent the stuff pretty promptly.
Because I know a lot of people that are new or coming back to the CoCo community, we keep telling them, yeah, you can get 2 meg upgrade boards from Cloud9. They go there and go, nope, there's not even an entry for it. Only sell 512, and no, you got to email him because he hasn't updated his site in half a decade or something.
Yeah, kind of like Zipster, but a little bit more responsive, actually. So,
Yeah, if you know to email him, but if you just pop to his site and try to order it, you won't find it.
yeah, right.
And I bugged him every CoCoFest. Maybe if some other people bug him, maybe he'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even just list is available and email me would be good enough. He doesn't have to look at prices or have a live hot order button or something.
Right. Contact us.
All right, cool.
New toys. I guess if you want to see one more thing, I did finish converting this joystick, the KC3.
Cool.
Plays pretty nice, actually. This also feels kind of buttery compared to using a Craft Deluxe joystick. The only thing I don't really care for is that this is button 1 and these are both button 2. I think
You got to ride some more.
So button 1, you have to use your thumb while you're holding the joystick.
Yeah, exactly. Which
that would suck.
It didn't really bother me initially until I played the game on the game of the week.
Well, that should be fixable.
So it's already on the schedule to open up and rewire, right?
I mean, it's already been done once. Well, technically twice because I wired it backwards the first time.
Why not 3? Yeah.
So I had to turn it upside down to play, but it worked perfectly. So I opened it up and fixed that, and then I don't know. Yeah, it's just 2 wires in there, and they're already on a little board. So just reverse them, and this will be button 2. Seems kind of weird that these are both button 1, or both.
Oh, is that one physical button, or is it just 2
No,
buttons?
it's 2 separate buttons. They're just wired in parallel.
Oh, so you could have 1 and 2 and whatever weird one on the thumb if you wanted to.
Yeah, I can make
feature
this,
creep. Yeah, now you need.
I would make
the switch underneath to switch the top button.
Well, it's interesting. There actually is a cutout for a switch and a knob down here, so I think it might have had an auto fire option.
Oh, okay. So even more features.
Right. Another interesting thing is these. Well, first you don't have to push it to a corner, but they're like multi-stage. If you push it to the middle, it like loosens it. It's still sort of self-centering.
Oh, okay. So it's still got a detent in the middle, so you can tell where the middle is. And now you can't tell where the middle is. Cool.
It's not so much a detent in the middle as it just has a little bit of free play in the middle.
Just a little in the, so you can tell though when you're in the middle. You don't have to I like that.
Right. Yeah. And also, yeah, one thing I do like about this, when you're playing, you can kind of feel a detent right at the middle, straight up and down and straight to the sides. It's not perfectly smooth all the way across. There's just a slight detent right there.
Some games that would work then, right?
Mm-hmm. I am tempted to cover up these adjusters now that I have it calibrated, because I don't bump them as bad as I did on the deluxe stick, but a little bit. But it's a nice stick. I like this. For $5, they sell these on eBay for $35.
Right.
Oh, it's worth that now with your upgrades, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now it's $35.
Now it's worth 50. All right, that's all I got. Cheers.
Okay. Let's see. Terry.
Well, let's see here. Let me see if I can switch cameras as well. I ordered this a few weeks ago. It came from overseas. There, is that coming through?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what it is a education kit for a Motorola 6809, I guess a microprocessor kit. And I'm going to be busy doing some soldering, but let me see if I can share my screen here. There we go. Is that coming through to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of what it'll hopefully end up looking like when I'm done. And in addition to those segment LEDs, it also has a actual LED screen that was an add-on. This was actually the last kit that the gentleman had, so I went ahead and purchased it just mainly to see how it was going to work. Probably just connect it up. I'm thinking of connecting it with my Raspberry Pi, my CoCo Pi, and doing the serial connection there just to play with it. But oh yeah, there's a picture of the other LCD screen that I had added to it. But anyway, I got that.
That'll be fun.
Is that just a 1 megahertz board, or is it rated for 2? Or
Let's see here. It's a good question. I was thinking it was 2, but 1.2288.
It's an odd speed.
That does
Okay.
seem like
No
an odd
video
speed.
clock, so
And that's not the EP version of the chip. It's just the standard
One of the clock built in.
standard clock ones, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So they give you a 6809A or
B.
Let's see here.
well, B would be 2 megahertz rate. The A was the 1.5, wasn't it?
what's the number?
Well, shoot.
Not going to
I
focus.
forgot my dang glasses. Doggone it.
Oh,
That's
You got your
So we're
phone?
seeing it just like you are then.
yeah, we all got
Not gonna lie. Well, shoot. I have to get my camera out to look at it.
take a picture and zoom it up.
Oh, it's hell to get old.
Right?
Can't see nothing and forgot my glasses. So that ain't good, but
Maybe they're on top of your head.
they probably.
All right.
Thanks, Curtis.
You're welcome. I'm in the same boat.
That's it. Then the only other thing I'll show super quick was I got a lot a while back from a gentleman who was a pretty big CoCo guy, and his son, they keep finding odds and ends at their house, and so his son periodically drops by little nuggets for me. So this is some books that came. He also brought me a whole bunch of original CoCo 3, all the different books that he had found.
With all the pages in them.
Yeah. That's rare. The other thing, a couple of things. Got a joystick.
Oh, pistol grip. Cool.
Now, what I was happy with, now I've got one in a box, but this one got a koala pad.
With stylus?
And a stylus.
Oh, that's a
That's what I was saying.
Right, the pad's kind of boring, but hey.
Now, I haven't seen one of these before, but it's a
light pen.
The data pen. So I'm going to play with that.
Yeah, Spectrum Products used to sell a kit with that in a couple games and stuff too. And Computer Island, I think, sold some games for it as well.
And then one more light pen.
Cool.
Wait, Vader. The other thing was a fairly large box of all of his files that he kept from just about anything to do with CoCo. The iTronics EEPROM programmer, all that kind of stuff, from catalogs to I think any website he'd ever went to for CoCo. But anyway, I'll go through all this stuff and see what's not on the archive and see about getting it scanned. Disk drive analyzer, I don't know what that is. Oh,
J&M, yeah. Does he have the disc for that?
Yeah,
the actual alignment disc?
The discs are in a different section, but yeah, it's got his notes plus the original.
Because that was a special version of JDOS that actually used their special, I think it was Dyson's alignment disc. It was a specially formatted weird thing that you can't get anywhere else. If you still have that, I think you're the only person I know that still does.
Right, and beyond CoCo, you're the only person who has one for any computer probably, because those things are like hen's teeth now.
Yeah, I know I saw one in here. I'll have to find it. Like I said, I just got this. Have not had time to go through the discs, but anyway.
Well, what was that bag you had in there? Bag of hen's teeth?
Right. Before the bookmark file, we had this, kids. A box full of things.
Oh, this is the kit. It was a kit that was for a composite video kit. I'm sorry. Gosh darn it.
Interesting.
Oh, that's not a brand one that I'm aware of, B&F. I'm used to the Mark Data products and a few others, but that's not one I'm familiar with.
Yeah, interesting. So anyway, I apologize. I have a mess here. I will get it a little bit
Interesting mess.
organized for next time.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it looks like you got some pretty cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm excited to go through that.
Okay, let's see. Henry, you had something?
Yeah. And let me make some changes here. We'll hit that button and we'll hit that button. Okay. So I managed to find on eBay a relatively reasonably priced line printer 7. Now I haven't really done much with it yet. This was the printer that I had through my childhood up until I got my own 12 character per second 12 character per second daisy wheel printer. And it doesn't seem to be completely functional because I'm not plugging it in right now, but this position that the head is in, that position is where it stays when I turn it on. And if I recall correctly, it's actually supposed to return to the home position when you turn it on. Am I correct in that one?
I honestly don't remember if the 7 did that or not.
You know, it has
Okay.
a catch on there that you know, it grabs the
Oh, like a shipping lock kind of thing?
No, see that black thing on it?
This?
It's a little rocker thing, yeah.
Yeah, that holds the ribbon.
Yeah. Well, it also might. Do you have a ribbon in there?
Yep, there's a ribbon in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's what kind of it holds on to it, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what advances the ribbon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks the ribbon along. And I don't know if anybody remembers this about these printers, but the fun part about them, he says, as he struggles with the ribbon that he's only removed maybe the once, is that this ribbon, along with its siblings, is just one loop. That's it.
Right.
Right.
There's nothing stored in either side. It's just a loop of ribbon. So
It might
that
have
makes
had
it both.
a pad
Go
in
ahead.
each one with ink on it.
Oh, yeah,
Ah,
maybe an
okay.
ink pad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Re-inker pad.
Maybe.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I'll have to.
I used WD-40 on it and got it going on mine.
Yeah.
I have two of them.
I'll have
And,
to pop it open and see what's going on with it. But the first thing I want to do is get this mechanism going and working. I would have had this apart today, but this hole right here is about 4 inches deep, and I don't have a screwdriver that long yet.
Long screwdriver.
Yep. So, but yep, that's it. That's what I got.
Cool.
Neat.
I'm trying to remember the line printer 7. Did that have true lowercase? Just the descenders were popped up, or is it pre-lowercase?
Kinda, sorta. It was definitely the ROM on it was 5x7, and so it did have descenders, but the descenders were at the baseline. The bottom of the
Right, so it shifted the lowercase letters
So,
up.
yeah, it shifted the
basically.
lowercase up a little bit.
The DMP 100 was in the same case, but it was white, and it
Yep.
had better ROM in it or something.
A little bit better of a ROM. I never
Yeah.
played with the DMP 100, but
I didn't
what
either.
I recall somebody mentioning was that the 100 had been moved around, had its ROM changed so that the CoCo could get at the graphics characters.
Right.
Because the CoCo spit in 7 bits, and this thing needs 8 bits in order to
Right.
in order to
Radio
do the
Shack sold a
graphics
little
characters.
cassette program that was a little software driver to fix that, and then they upgraded the 1.1 color basic ROM, so it did 8 bits. So in my case, they just upgraded my ROM for free because I bought a printer that required the 8-bit characters, and they just exchanged it.
Yeah, so I have no idea what my CoCo is going to do with it. I've got the CoCo 2 over here.
Yeah, you have a late enough
but-
ROM, it'll be 8-bit driver anyway. See what we find there.
Yeah.
The one
So I'll
line
find
printer
out later. But right now the serial port's taken up. The bitbanger's taken up with DriveWire. So
the
who knows? I'll
one-
put this.
the
What's
one
that?
machine I have would work, but you had to tilt the printer so that it would fall back by itself using gravity. But it did work. So you might try that. I don't know.
Well, this thing, I don't think that's actually going to happen because let's see. Nope, it's not moving. But oh no, that's the ribbon.
Okay.
Yep, that's about me.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's see. Marco, you're up next.
And he leaves.
And he's up.
He's gone.
You're right. He's up.
Well, I can jump in the
Okay.
middle real quick till he comes
He
back.
got kidnapped by the cat.
Okay.
Go ahead,
and
go
then-
ahead, Rick.
And then after that, we're going to do a Ron's Garage.
Yeah.
Okay, so am I here?
Yep, you're here.
Okay, so here's my non-acquisition acquisition. Inside this box, there are 10 network cards and the boards for 15 keyboards.
But
Fortunately, that's not my backyard, and DHL doesn't know where they delivered it. This is somewhere in Milwaukee, but it's not anywhere close to me because I've checked all the neighbors' houses. So there's that. And then in passing, I thought we should spend a moment of silence for this.
So no GPS data in the picture image?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
you might be able to pull that out.
They'll get back to me, so we're waiting. And then, yeah.
I don't
David
see
here?
Jason's car isn't there.
he's off screen to the left.
He
Anyway,
has a
that-
Dodge Journey.
Poor David Ladd.
That's two non-acquisitions, and that's all I really have.
Wow. Okay. Mark, you ready?
Jeez.
Me? For what?
I had you down as a project update.
No, I don't. I just said I'm only gonna be here for an hour.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Cross you off the list.
Yep, this week.
All righty. So next we have.
Are we there?
Yep, we're there.
Okay. In my file section right here, you will find these hicolor images in a zip called ZIPP that you can download. It has 556 images in it, and the images are in a DSK format, so you can load them into your SD card.
Or
Anyways, they're right there on. I already looked for it, and there it shows up, and there they are. So you're welcome to take them and play with them. They're things that I'm interested in, and you're not. So, oh boy, is that going to be fun!
That's a way to upsell it there.
Yeah, it really. So let's see. I need to rearrange stuff here. Anyway, let's see. In one of my stories, it has a thing called, well, geez, I went to the wrong place here. Discussion. Okay. There we go. Well, I guess I'll cover this first. NetMate has been worked on by Roger Taylor, and he's working on the latest version. And I've got older stuff that I've brought up again, and then some people have commented on it, like where do I get it? And you can get it in my file section again. And this is the latest version, and it works great. And I used it, and here's a video I made, hopefully without sound, because there was sound in the background. Oh, that's just a screen. Oh, that's not it. It's the next one, this one. And this is just like a dump of, what was in memory when I went online with it. And that was Battlestar BBS. And it was a lot of fun. I got in there and looked around at different stuff, and this is just like a screen dump of what I did inside of it. It works great. It has all the ASCII stuff in there, and it acts properly. I did have to set the screen width to 80 because it would wrap a little bit. Once I did that, it looked great. So there's that. And then I can get rid of this now.
So Roger's not charging for NetMate anymore?
No, it's shareware. Like, you know, he'd like to get something for it, but you know, if you like it, you can donate.
Yeah, so for people that have the ESPs and stuff there that, you know, you can log in with telnet addresses and stuff onto online BBSs instead of needing a phone line, you can use that to do the ANSI graphics and stuff.
Yep. And I made this artwork for the next early virtual CoCoFest is coming up on February 24th.
Actually, Mark, do you
95.
have an update for that while we're talking about it? Because we probably should have mentioned it during the updates.
Oh, yeah, I probably should have. Like I said, I have a few people that have confirmed to me verbally. Erico is one of them. That's why we're going to chat a little bit later. And Rick Euland is another one. So, and Paul Fiscarelli. Like I said, I have a few people. I'm hoping some others will pop out of the woodwork here. So, end of the month, both Saturday and Sunday for slots. So, let's get some people to show up, and do some presentations.
All righty.
Thank you again for the graphics, Ron.
Oh, sure. Let's see. I wanted to move this thing out of the way so I can get rid of this. And, you know, you can run a little basic program and tell you what CPU is in your machine if you forget you updated it or not. And that's what a 6309 EP looks like in your machine. And I put this here because Nick Marentes once said a 6309 in native mode can execute the same instruction as the 6809 with less cycles, even when running at the same clock speed.
Some instructions, not all of them, but yeah, that's true.
Yep. And then somebody put, is Nick Marentes, where is Nick Marentes these days? I haven't seen any activity from him in ages.
Boy, they don't pay attention to our show, do they?
I guess not. You can catch him on CoCoNation.
He's on almost every week.
Yeah, that's right. Right. And then Tony Pedraza wanted to know how that this happens. So I guess that would be a whole show.
What does it mean by how did it happen?
How
to detect it, or
how is the 6309 faster?
Oh, because it was done in CMOS and it's microcoded. It's not hardwired.
Right.
And because basically there's 6 years of technical advancements between the 6809 to the 6309, so the Hitachi was able to do things a lot more efficiently.
I thought it was magic. No, it's just newer technology, which is indistinguishable from magic.
Right.
And Subetha Software, what's his name?
Alan Huffman.
Alan posted on my wall about him getting this machine. It looked real nice. And I said, if you got pictures, show it. And he said it's in storage. He's going to get it out and clean it up and get it going.
Yeah, it's an older model color computer one, or just color computer back then with the label on the left and the RAM badge on the right.
Right. And it got me to show mine, which is in great shape. And he said he thought it would be yellow still. I think he said it here somewhere. He said, I don't know. Anyway, so this one's still in the box, you know, and I get it out every once in a while, and it's still white keyboard. I mean, I don't know why it, you know, what is it that causes, is it heat? Because it's been in my garage and it's 90 in my garage, you know, could be 100 too on different occasions for the last, you know, 12 years, and it still looks white, you know, it doesn't look yellow like they get. So
Well,
I'm amazed.
Ultraviolet's the big one.
Yeah, I was sneaking that it's also the formulation in the plastic.
Yeah.
He says as he pulls his Coco 2 over for the keyboard.
Yeah, I've read somewhere it's the fire retardant and the ultraviolet light don't go together, and you end up with yellow fire retardant in your plastic.
Yeah. So like I look at my Coco 2, my Coco 3 2 keyboard here, and all the gray keys show no discoloration whatsoever. They're not turning they're not turning yellow at all. But when I look at the white keys over here, these are actually quite yellowed. So I'm wondering if they used a different plastic. I think they're both double shot, if I recall correctly, but I do believe it has something to do with the plastic it's made of, as well as UV exposure for whatever type of whatever type of thing you've got.
Yeah, and that's just how how much they give you for a cable for
Yep.
hooking up.
I remember
And the
that.
reason that this is not all messed up is because that cable is still tucked in the side where it belongs and not wrapped around the plastic case where it would have eaten through it and completely
Yep.
ruined the entire computer.
Yeah, this is a 16K extended color basic, and the sticker on the back was punctured. So
Yeah, because it
anyway,
looks like the RAM badge says 4K. That's the original. But
yeah,
did you get it upgraded elsewhere? Because Radio Shack
no,
usually
it came to me
upgraded
that way,
Okay.
and it must have been done years ago because it came with a collection I bought for I bought a large collection that fit in my van, which Ron's garage comes from, is all these different computers. The MM1 was in there, and all my Tandy 1000s and monitors and CoCos and printers and all kinds of stuff I got. I really lucked out on a haul, kind of like what Brian does.
Except Brian does it every week.
Yeah. Anyways, I didn't really pay attention, but most color computers say custom manufactured in USA when it's the USA, I guess. And I wonder if it says that if it's from a Korea. Does it say custom manufactured in Korea for?
Let me look.
No, it just says made in
I
Korea.
think it just says made in Korea, I think. That's what mine say.
Yeah, the custom went out when they went overseas. Anyway, so this is
that's how they
Danielle.
could get away with some of the foreign parts, and then final assembly was here.
Right.
They did bouncing around because, as I recall, this a lot of the earlier CoCo 3s came from Korea, but the later ones came from the US.
And this is Danielle's setup. She has quite a collection of CoCos, and this is an older one, just like the one I posted up above. But she
Is that
got that
at
years ago.
201 that I see there?
That's what I was just thinking. Right there to
That
the
looks
right
like-
of the CoCo.
Yeah, right above the meter. Yeah.
That okay, right. You want to talk about some serious my childhood there, aside from the upgraded keyboard.
Well, you can get a
oh
better picture of this at Danielle.com.
Right. I mean, look what she's plugged it into.
Yeah.
Well, it says Moog, 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 so she must have a Moog there somewhere.
Or several of them.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I also went online recently with the older version I got of NetMate, which is 26, and now he's doing 54, I think. And I really enjoyed going to this one. I think I showed this last week. This particular CBS has, where you can go and look up the moon phase in text, which is pretty cool. Let's see, what else was it going to show? Yeah, this.
I will mention there's a news segment that actually going to be talking about logging in with ANSI graphics and how they compare between NetMate and the original Twilight Terminal by Sockmaster.
Right now, since we talked about this, there's this that came up. For a few vintage computers inspire as much active devotion as the Tandy Color Computer 3 first introduced in '86. The CoCo 3, as it affectionately is called by its fans, never sold as many units as home computers from Atari or Commodore, but that engendered an even stronger loyalty in its users. And I already got the article pinpointed toward the end, where it talks about a friend of ours. Where is it now? I had it right there. Here, color computing programming assistant. I don't know why it says that. Yeah, John Kowalski. It talks all about him and has a picture of him. And you might want to read this. You can go on my site and look at it. The link is there, and it talks about all about him. What he does, what he did. Has Twilight term on there.
Yeah, and if you want a really detailed kind of summary of all that, we actually, when we interviewed him, we covered a lot of this stuff too. So check out our back episode interviewing John Kowalski, alias Sockmaster.
Yep, and he's the one that did all the pictures that come from his program.
Highlight colors from him.
Yep.
Amongst many other things.
Yeah, that's the place you want to go on my Ron's Garage. What else did I have? If I can get rid of this thing again.
Known perpetrator.
Why does it there? Does it have to be there? And I want to see my thing at the top. How do I get rid of it, guys? This? Yes. No? I got more.
I don't know. What are you trying to get rid of?
Okay, that's it. All right, I did it. And now, see, I have more pages to show. Where'd they go?
They cross the very top.
See, yeah, but
Yeah, I
it's
see a bunch of tabs on the
locked.
top.
Yeah,
Or
here,
hitting Control Tab.
maybe that.
Unless what you're seeing on your end is different than what we're seeing. I see tabs all across the top there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it must be you're seeing something different.
Are you in full screen? Exit full screen and your
I tried to.
will make sense again.
There and there. And is this the one I want? No. Oh well, look, I'll just stop because the other stuff isn't that big a deal. It's just I wanted to show if you go into media on my Ron's Garage, you'll see hordes of pictures that I've done and stuff that I've showed. And if you select one, you can go to where it is, and that really makes it easier to go through all this stuff rather than scrolling thousands of yards up. Or however you say it. But that's about it, guys. Thank you. I thought that article was pretty cool with Sockmaster on there.
Yeah, I think I covered it. Probably I have to check the date of the article, but that was published a while ago in PC World, and I think I covered it some years ago. But a lot of people that have joined the CoCo community again later probably have never seen that episode. So thanks for bringing it up again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far back, but you can see a good example of different plastics given different stages of yellowing here.
Right.
Can you zoom that up? Yeah, there you go.
This
This is where Nick Morendes has mentioned that the Australian Cocos used a different plastic than the American ones, and his case and everything else doesn't yellow at all.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this
I
one,
mean,
this came from National Parts. I ordered this for my CoCo one right before I found a deluxe keyboard on the shelf for $13. This was $35.
And
Very
that's the
low
melted
usage.
keyboard, and those are still square where the brake key is. You would
Right.
think it would be almost round, but it's not.
And this is like, I think it was installed in a CoCo 2 from the factory. Maybe it's the Korean one or the American one. I don't know. Maybe that's got something to do with where it was manufactured.
Rick,
Right,
do you know
'cause
much about that, Rick? Since you're a keyboard guy.
I've been told repeatedly that the plastic you sold in the United States had to have fire protectant in it, and the stuff they used yellowed, which made the plastic appear yellow. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it from several locations, so I'm going to go with it.
I agree. I've heard that too.
That seems consistent with what I've heard too, and that's also out
Now-
Apple computers and Commodores also.
Was that rule in effect in 1980 when, or maybe 81 when that one that I showed you guys that had a nice, bright, clean keyboard? Do you think that that's not
Well,
fire retardant in it?
if it's been in a box in the garage for 30 years, it's still going to be white. It takes some time with the window light shining on it to get
Yeah, it
this
needs
nice,
a UV light has to hit it to trigger that.
to get this beautiful tan, just like, people.
So even with a CoCo 3 that's in a box, you're not going to get yellowing if it
I
just
wouldn't
sat in the
expect it.
box?
I've got plenty that don't show that. So
Definitely don't store it on an active tanning bed. That would be my
Mhm.
recommendation.
Right, in the sunlight, none of that.
Yeah, tanning beds in Arizona aren't very common.
Well, you have one. It's called outside.
Right, it's outdoors.
Okay, well, that was everything we had listed on project updates. Does anybody else?
Now,
have
Brian Weezer just popped in, so maybe he's got something before we exit the segment. Probably should ask.
Oh, there we go.
No, I'm just driving, guys. So thank you for asking.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, Brian, and all your collection of CoCos, Have you ever opened up a new one and saw any yellow inside on keys or on the case?
Not that I recall, no.
And I forgot to ask in my section, or forgot to tell you in my section, I've put new files on the CoCoio Discord, the cocoio-develeopment channel. So if any of y'all are following that, there's new stuff there. So go check it out. Thanks.
Is it bug fixes or enhancements or?
Yeah, mainly bug fixes. I did a pre-built install, so you don't have to go to GitHub and get all the source and put it all together and
Okay.
build Coco Shelf and all that other stuff. So, and I even cribbed a copy of VOU and just installed everything in it, so you can just boot that and start playing.
Yep, go for it. It's full public, so.
Speaking of that,
You don't have to ask permission from me or Bill on that one. Just go for it.
Curtis, how does I've got the 7.7 something 7.5 is it version of SDC, and I'm wondering how I could make it so that it goes. Can you install the older version backwards so that you can run the EOU again?
That's flashing the firmware. You don't have to read flash SDC DOS itself. You can leave the newest version of that. That's fine. But if you're trying to boot, and this is only if you have a 609, it works on a 6809 because it's slower and it doesn't have a problem. But the latest firmware for the SDC does cause 609 EOU to crash every time, basically. 609 version will still work. But if you just flash it back to one previous version, Alan, if he was still on the call, I think he would actually remember the actual version numbers. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, the
oh, there, yeah, you're right there. Sorry.
Yeah, there's two parts in the CoCo SDC. There's the SDC DOS, which you can update to 1.75, which is fine. And then there's the microcontroller firmware. And the latest microcontroller firmware 127, that's the one that has something going on with EOU 6309. So if you roll back to MCU version 121, then that will work fine with SDC DOS set 1.75.
I will also mention that Tim Linder and some others are actually working on trying to get a 6309 CoCo to Darren Atkinson to, because he doesn't have a 609. He has 609 chips, but like me, he's not a solderer, so he can't do the upgrade. So it just sits there and does nothing. So he can't even test it to find out that this would have been a problem. So we're trying to arrange for him to actually get and receive a 6309 base CoCo so that he can actually have something to test this on and then fix it up. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Yes.
I'll donate one to him or swap a motherboard or whatever.
Okay, get in contact with Tim Linder then, because Tim was trying to arrange it. I think he's in Atkinson's in Utah somewhere, so we can arrange it. He's active on the Discord, so we can probably get his address and stuff there. But yeah, he wants to get either somebody to upgrade one of his machines for him, or to donate one that he can use for testing on SDC firmware, etc.
Is it coming to CoCoFest?
I doubt it. I don't think he's ever been to one.
Oh, well, that's a good way to get an upgrade done.
Yeah, some people just don't go to trade shows though.
What trade show? Ours is just a big party.
Right? There's no trade going on here. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Fred Provencher said, Utah, what? So it's
I think Fred's in Utah too. So maybe Fred.
Yes,
Fred,
Fred
I don't know
is.
if he's up to upgrading a CoCo 3 to a 6309.
All that Dr. Pepper would never made it up to Chicago for the 4th of May.
Actually, I think it was Kevin pointed out though that the Dr. Pepper that was dumped was not diet, so that's not the type that Dave normally drinks. So he should be fine.
So we're safe. Yeah.
Okay. Ready for commercials and then game on results?
Sounds good.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCoNation show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons: Alex Gayer, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Karen Ascom, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Kevin Holloway, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Rob Binman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., and William A. Thing. Thank you so much, patrons.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Phosphatide says, greetings everyone, Brandon here. I managed to pick up a operational TRS-80 Model 3 just yesterday at a flea market for a massive bargain. It's not a CoCo, but I figured I can at least start here. Grizzly Adam says, hello everyone. Former CoCo user, still a big fan. I am doing a type-in program for my newsletter and need some help getting my program to load in an emulator. My name is Adam. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Boysen, Glenside Computer Club, Micro Hobbyist Frederick, Paul Fiscarelli, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this week's CoCoNation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Middle Kingdom. We had a total of 12 players. We had Shenley with a score of 3. Mr. Dave 6309, 26. L Curtis Boyle, 3292. Ed Rhodes, 4350. Worm Food, 4511. Coconut Bob, 5401. Tasman, 5642. Micro Hobbyist, 10,622. Canadian Retro Things, 10,692. Sloopy Malibu, 10,838. Jim Rye, 11,218. And this week's number one score is Dr. Ted with 11,554. Thanks everybody that played. We'll see you again next week.
And the CoCoNation salutes Dr. Ted.
Salute.
Salute. Yeehaw.
That's 2 weeks in a row for him.
Yep.
Right? A new champion.
New champion, taking down the old guard. Dr. Ted.
But I haven't seen Buck Owens in a while.
No.
Does he have a new name?
I guess I'm probably choosing games that he doesn't enjoy. So
Yeah, he's a bit picky.
if he doesn't enjoy the game, then yeah,
He doesn't bother.
play.
He's been pretty busy though. He's mentioned on the Amigos they haven't seen him there much lately either, and he's been busy with real life.
What's that?
Real life.
It's what's keeping me from getting Nitrous 9 UU finished. That's what it is.
Right?
All right, so Middle Kingdom. What shall we say about Middle Kingdom? Well, let's let Rainbow do the talking. This is from December 1984 of Rainbow. Now, the reviewer here was very kind to this game.
That sounds like a normal Rainbow review.
So he's saying the graphics are exceptional. Oh, yeah, they're good. A keyboard response is excellent. I'll agree with that. He does mention that score and time have no relation to the success or failure of the game. So both the score and the time are just kind of thrown in there. Basically, it's a well-developed software game, well-written, graphics are tremendous, game operation is smooth as silk. He does, however, say it's not a very difficult game, and it can be played by children as well as adults. And it's a winnable game. That's what he liked about it. And because he thinks too many games on the CoCo were just
Arcade based, where it's basically just
play until you die
until you
and
die.
try to get a good score. He and this author enjoyed the fact that, and especially his kids enjoyed the fact that they could beat the game. They could make it to the end. The only problem that he had with it is that it's a very random type game. There's no hint or clue to where the creatures are. There's no way you can avoid the monsters. You have to fight even if your strength value is almost gone. And the success and failure of the game is somewhat left up to chance. Effects of the weapon also seem to be randomized. So
accurate.
I very much agree with the end statement there. But he did really enjoy the game. I think he probably enjoyed it more because his 9-year-old kid had a lot of fun playing it. Now, Hot Cocoa wasn't quite as nice. Basically, they say that they doubt the game will be of much interest to seasoned adventurers, but it might just be the thing for younger gamers. The graphics are nice. The sound of the footsteps are delightful. It's a fairly standard adventure quest. The only problem is this version is unusual for the lack of choices it offers. Basically, you only have 2 choices: the direction in which you will go and the weapon you'll use. You don't even get an option to fight or retreat. And the documentation says different weapons and different combinations will be more effective against certain monsters, but this author did not find any examples of that, and I'll agree with that. The weapons seem to be completely random.
Now he's mentioning, it says, except the wizard is more likely to cast spells effectively, which makes sense. Did you find that when you played the magician?
A little bit, I guess. Except that there were just certain creatures that spells failed against automatically. Apparently, though, I guess I didn't highlight it in here, but one of the authors actually said that you should use your spells immediately when you pick them up, because if you keep them in your inventory, they become less effective.
Okay.
So they should be used as soon as you get them. So anyways, yeah, Middle Kingdom isn't challenging. I found my lack of influence over my character's destiny to be intolerable. If there's a young person who has the imagination to be captivated by a role-playing situation, but doesn't yet have the logical skills to handle more sophisticated adventures, you should take a look at this one.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so it's like a beginner's adventure game. So,
and my cat barfed all over the floor, so I guess that was a vote of confidence.
That was his review of the game.
That was your cat's. Okay, your cat has put in the review of Middle Kingdom. Now I have to agree. I mean, it was a very relaxing game to play, but yeah, there was no skill, no anything involved. It was just luck of the draw and just randomly push buttons and hope that it works.
Yeah, the only bit of quote unquote skill would be, remembering where in the maze you are, because you have the entranceway, and then you got your separate areas of the buildings you're going
Yeah.
through. There's the catacombs, the pyramid. So you kind of have to know the map if you're trying to get out quick without dying. If you've got all 3 rings, for example, but that's
And the
about
map
it for
does
skill.
change every time you play. So
Yeah.
I mean, the catacombs, the pyramid, and the temple are always in the same place, but their layouts are different. So
Yeah. I mean, during the live stream, my comment was it's too random.
Yeah.
That's its biggest flaw.
it's got the beginnings of a good game. And as we were saying on the live stream, it'll be a really good game when they finish making it.
Hey, that was my comment.
Exactly. Well, I said on the live stream, I didn't say who made it. Brought to you by Sloopy Malibu.
Yeah, that's one somebody, if they had a lot of spare time and you know, inclination to do so, should disassemble it and actually see if they can tidy it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
We'll
going,
even make a fighting mechanic in it and give you the option to run.
Yeah, they got the animation of the character walking, like just add a few swinging a sword or pointing
Yeah.
a stick or something like that for the spells.
yeah, when
And
I,
you should be able to choose to block high, block middle, block low, depending on how you think the guy's going to attack.
And see, Kevin Holloway's actually showing the screenshot of the intro screen with the proper credits that I'm used to seeing, rather than the. I'm suspecting they're hacked now. The other one.
Yeah.
So what was that, Sloopy?
oh, someone actually heard me. Yeah, going through the tunnels. Basically, I just did a wall follower routine. Just walked along the left edge of the wall until I got through the entire thing, so that I wouldn't really have to remember or map out what the dungeon looked like.
Well, it's usually not that hard because there's usually only in each section, maybe 2 or 3 different intersections that you have to remember. So
Yeah.
I'm used to playing games with a lot more complicated maps than that. So
Like
I
Gates of
don't know,
Delirium?
I found it quite easy. Well, Gates of Delirium. I play a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons games for other systems. So
Yeah, well, you're smart and you can remember things.
I'm smart. SMRT smart.
Yeah, Sloopy wants the 2-room adventure game. That's what he wants.
Right. Or something like Gateway to Abshai, where the rooms don't really matter. You're just going through, and when you get done, the goal of the game, it ends. You don't
So-
have to figure out how to get out.
Sloopy, have you ever tried a little adventure game called Hunt the Wumpus?
It
Oh
sounds-
yes.
I played the TI-99 one, which actually has a sort of a
Graphical
port to
version.
the CoCo.
Originally, Hunt the Wumpus was a
Text.
was a text adventure.
Yes, I played it on the teletype.
So
74.
here's a fun one for you. I first played it on the Hewlett Packard HP 41.
Ooh.
Calculator?
Yeah.
One would think so.
Yeah,
Actually, that would not be a very. Oh, there we go. Terry's got a copy of it.
Yeah, I first played it on a deck printing terminal that was wide carriage.
Mm-hmm.
Although, unfortunately, we don't have a copy or a version of Hunt the Wumpus on the color computer. So,
Yeah,
Wait a minute,
we
wait a
did.
minute.
Terry
No, no,
just
no,
showed
no,
it.
no, no, no. I remember doing that
Oh.
as a type-in back when I was a kid. It exists. We can find it.
is it? Okay, so
Yeah.
that is
You got
the
a ROM
CoCo
pack.
version. I don't know. Terry's screen is so tiny. My 50-year-old eyes can't really see it.
All right, hang on. There we go.
Oh, that is a CoCo game. Okay.
Yeah,
It's got a
it
very
was ported
similar
over
to the-
from the TI-99. The graphics are very, very similar.
Yeah,
Okay,
isn't
so-
that the one that
Neil.
Neil did?
Yeah.
Neil Blanchard did?
Neil sold it. He didn't write it. I'm trying to remember who wrote it.
He did so.
Right. Yeah, he packaged it together. Yep.
Okay, well, there. I stand corrected. I've never actually seen the Hunt the Wumpus for the color computer.
There was another clone of it early on in like 81, 82 called Saspus, I think it was called. Some weird name like that was sold in Rainbow.
And there's a type in Wumpus that's been around, floating around the basic, the old HP basic ports since before there was even a CoCo.
Yeah, wasn't there one in David All's
Yes.
basic computer games?
Yeah. That's where I first played it on a pet.
Okay. One thou don't I feel foolish.
Ken has Wumpus coming out of everywhere.
Sorry, Ken. I got my glasses. Now I can find stuff. Sorry, man.
Well, hunt my Wumpus.
I had the type ins. Yeah, the type ins that I was playing with included Hunt the Wumpus and Eliza and a few others. So, although there was something corrupt in Eliza because she kept mangling the text that she was fed.
User error.
Or maybe she was going insane from the person she's talking to.
Yeah.
Also,
That could
60
be
Karen
it.
in the chat is mentioning that Blabia Computer Games made a version for the Dragon as well. So there's another Wumpus.
Wumpus all over the place.
available.
Well, we see a new video coming from Ken pretty soon. Every Wumpus ever compared.
Right. It's the challenge for
Here we go again.
Oh God. Okay, so yeah, the other game that we played, well, I guess first, does anybody have anything else to say about Middle Kingdom other than it's a little
There's
too
no
simplistic?
strategy or tips. You're just randomly
strategy.
hitting
Yep.
weapons and see what happens.
It reminds me of the news on this show, except it's interactive. It's an interactive.
You randomly hit things?
It's an interactive nap.
Oh, it's an interactive nap, okay.
My best tip for playing the game is good luck.
The only winner is not play the game.
right. The only way to win is not play.
So the other game that we played was Eliminator. And yeah. Does anybody have any tips or tricks about that game?
Don't use a joystick with a button on top of the stick.
Excellent advice. The one tip I have is if you're trying to hit the things on the bottom, which recharge your shields and shots and stuff, is to fly ahead a bit, so you're not flush left, and then back diagonal down and to the left, so you can actually try to catch them a lot easier. That's one thing I found.
And start from the close to the top of the screen to do it, then you don't get crashing into the mountains, because you can't crash into the mountains. It's not allowed.
Or the top wave thingy.
The top wave thing also kills you.
You can fly through the mountains.
Is there a toilet in the game?
Yeah, I heard you could fly through the mountains too, but you can't. Somebody lied to me.
Yeah, I mistook it for another game by Adventure National called Rearguard.
Sorry, Ron. What did you say, Ron?
Well, he said flush left. I thought there maybe was a toilet in there.
Yes.
That's where my scores went.
You're blowing up toilets. I'm sure in those buildings there's some toilets, so.
Yeah. Catching the humans is, I think, worth a fair bit of points. Like, and you can usually see like a ship will carry. Now, I've noticed that sometimes a ship is carrying a human, but I shoot it and the human disappears, and other times it drops.
Kill him. Because you kill him.
You shot him.
So is it 2 rapid fire shots then? Because I could swear sometimes I hit it once and it was gone.
I have no idea. Somebody would have to disassemble. There's probably just a like a randomness to whether the human survives the explosion and falls.
No, maybe that would make sense. Now, did any of you guys that have multiple systems get a chance to try that same game on some of the other systems to compare, or are we saving that for the next live challenge?
I looked. I tried to find one for the Commodore, and the original Adventure International one, I couldn't find any working copies, and somebody remade a copy of it, which is completely different and nothing to do with the Adventure International game. So
I know it's one Nick Marentes, and I wish he was here today. He said was actually a fairly good one on the Tier City Model 1 and 3, so hopefully we'll get him on, or at least get somebody to try it on a Tier City emulator.
Yeah,
Model 1 and 3.
Were you talking about the game Eliminator by Houston Associates?
That might be it.
Yeah, that's nothing like the Adventure International.
Yeah, because I tried
I
tried the Adventure International one and it didn't work, so I thought, oh, I'll try that one. It's same name, maybe it's but no, not the same game.
What were you trying to use it on?
A Commodore 64.
And disc?
A retro rewind Kung Fu Flash cartridge.
Ah, try using it in Vice with real disk drive.
Okay.
Because if the disk has a high speed loader in it, it may not work with the Kung Fu Flash.
It also didn't work with the other one, Jim Brain's
Easy Flash 3.
Easy Flash. Yeah.
Same thing. You'd have to try it with a Pi 1541 on real hardware, or a Vice with the real.
Got one of those right here.
All right, then you're set. Try it in there, because if it has a fast loader that the cartridge doesn't recognize, because the cartridge will recognize certain fast loaders and replace it with a loader that's compatible with the cartridge. But if it doesn't recognize the fast loader, then it won't work at all.
Well, geez, why can't the Commodore have something like the CoCo SDC?
Is this the Commodore 64 section of our show?
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
Glad you picked up on that, Ron. But I do want to see, like, Adventure International and several of the games, we've encountered this before, covering some of the games. They're the same game, supposedly. I think list you could buy for the C64 and the Apple II and the Tier City Model 1-3 and the Atari 8-bit and the CoCo, and the games are completely different. And this is one I think that, if I remember correctly, is fairly different between them. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to see them simultaneously. So
yeah, I'll try to get something working on another system for the show on Thursday.
And Sleepy, if you can find the Atari 8-bit version, that'd be awesome too.
Okay. Yeah, I usually will play the games the week they end. So.
And
Speaking
I'll bug Nick to get the Tier City Model 1 and 3. I don't know if he'll be able to make it because he's usually got people over at that time. But if he can send me the emulator,
I can fire it up. I could probably fire that up on an emulator on my computer too. So
okay.
Oh yeah, and Kevin, yeah, for the people that are rich enough and lucky enough to have an Ultimate 1541, then yeah, so you could do it on that also.
What is that? That's a like 1541s are a floppy drive, isn't it?
The Ultimate 1541 Plus is somewhat like the CoCo SDC, but they're obscenely expensive and they're slow to make them. So there's like a year to a year and a half waiting list for them.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
that's almost as bad as the Gimme X.
Yeah, they've been out for about 8 years, I think. But they're like $200, $200 to $300. But they are.
Wow, that is expensive.
Yeah.
Is it SD card based for the Amiga?
No, it's for the 64. I used to have one, but in my personal opinion, a Pi 1541, it would be similar functionality, even though the Ultimate does have more functionality. But if you're just playing games and such, the Pi 1541 will work just as well.
All right. Well, shall we talk about Thursday night's show?
Sure.
Sloopy, would you like to talk about Thursday night's show as I show some footage from Thursday night's show?
Oh, me talk about the show? Why would I do that?
Because you host it.
Oh, I do? Oh, cool. Yes, we had people coming and playing and talking about the games. We had 7 people playing, only 6 showed screens. 1 played but didn't show a screen. I don't remember who it was. Some had fun. Some played games.
Some played Middle Kingdom. Some had fun.
Yes. Yeah, overall, it was quite a successful show. But we're still missing a bunch of people. I want to see a full screen. I want to see 9 people playing at once and not just for 2 seconds. So, but yeah, it was, I don't know what more to say because most of the things are covered in the main part of the show. So it's not like there's really much to say on that.
Other than when should they be joining us for this and where should they be joining us for this?
Oh, yes, we can cover that. They can join us Thursdays please show up before 8 o'clock on Thursdays,
Eastern
U.S. time. Yes, I'm looking at those people that are even here, like Ken.
Huh? Yeah. What? Who? Where?
8:04 is not the time to show up for an 8 o'clock show. Maybe I should tell everyone this: the show starts at 7:50 p.m. on Thursday. Maybe they'll show up by 8:10 then. So
I was 4 minutes late. Sue me.
8:04. My gosh.
So 7:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come to the CoCo Discord.
The last time I was late, I hadn't ended up having to stream the show.
Yeah.
See, it could happen to you too, so be there.
Yeah, well, you got there at 8:01, but that's fine.
Space rent clip?
I mean,
And also, as you can see from the screen right now, you don't have to play the game of the week. You can play any game you want to
on the
CoCo.
Or any game that is identical to the game we're playing on another system.
Do you guys get that much? Like somebody come on with a dragon or something?
No, but there's been rumors that people have played Atari on there, especially when
you will be severely chastised if you play a different system, but you can do it.
Yeah, when we've been playing Indy games, people have been playing the Atari version of them.
Yeah, it's actually cool to compare them too, because a lot of these I didn't see on the other platforms at the back in the day. So it's kind of interesting to see how different they are, how close they are to each other.
And that game that Coconut Bob is playing, that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, we demoed it at BoatFest last year with the 3D glasses. So
that's a game that you can actually set to be in 3D. And if you wear 3D glasses, like the old-fashioned red and blue 3D glasses, the game looks fairly 3D through that.
And who wrote that one?
Steve Bjork.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, it's not a problem playing on a dragon. We're talking about other systems like the Atari.
Yeah, not a CoCo, something that's not a CoCo cousin. Like Mark O, I'm looking at you with your apples.
Yeah, I'm looking at Apple. I mean, at least when I played on the Atari, I was playing something that was related to the Game On challenge.
I guess technically the game that Mark O was playing last week was kind of like Middle Kingdom, just a way better version.
Do I remember correctly? Was there an Apple clone called like a Tangerine or something?
There's quite a few Apple clones.
Yeah,
Franklin, Ace.
The Tangerine is not a Apple clone. It is a computer, but it's the reason that it's sold so crappy in North America is because people thought it was an Apple clone.
Oh,
okay.
But
I couldn't tell you what any of the others are. Were there any other fruit named ones?
There was pear.
Yeah, there was a pear.
There was an orange too, wasn't there?
Yeah, orange was an Apple clone.
I just remember the Franklin commercials always had Ben Franklin eating an apple. So you would know.
Yeah, there was a Banana Junior 6000.
That's from Boone County.
You could actually compare apples to oranges then.
Yep,
literally.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good emulator called Pear PC that worked actually very well on XP. It's still actually in production.
Ken, you're playing Glove on here. Have we had that challenge in the challenge yet?
Yes, we have.
Oh, okay.
Say it does look familiar.
Yeah, that was very early.
Glove? Actually, it wasn't that early. It was only about 45 weeks ago.
45 weeks ago?
Yeah.
You sure?
Something like that.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Asleep.
Do you guys discourage games that make noises as you play them, or do you just turn it?
No, we just turn the sound off.
down.
Turn the sound
Okay.
down. It's not that the game makes noise, it's me making noise. So
it's not that the game makes noise, it's that everybody's game's all at once making noise.
Yeah.
is the
Canuck
problem.
here or something.
So if I came on and played defense, it would make
I
all kinds of noise.
yeah, when I stream, what I stream over to Twitch and YouTube has no game sounds on it whatsoever. So that because everyone's stream on my screen has their game volume set to 0. So the only way you'll hear music or game audio is if they are streaming through the same thing as their
Microphone.
microphone.
All right, so everybody, Thursday nights, be there or be square.
Or rectangle.
Trapezoidal.
Now, who would like to see what we will be playing next week?
Ooh, I can't wait to miss
Me.
Please.
last few you've picked have been really
Great.
quality games.
Hey, what's wrong with Eliminator?
Eliminator's good. I like Eliminator.
Eliminator is a good game.
I haven't played it yet. I don't play that till next week.
Now, some of you may recognize this game from Coconut Bob playing it this week, and that's where I got my inspiration. So I'm going to say that it was a suggestion from Coconut Bob because he played it in front of me.
Oh, yeah, that game. That did look pretty interesting.
That's a Tom Mix game.
Yep.
We have lit candles and actually can go dark and all kinds of cool stuff.
Okay.
Anybody got a guess other than the Curtis who knows it and Sloopy who probably knows it?
No, I can't remember it.
Does Coconut Bob remember it? Because he played quite a few games on the stream.
But I can
do remember.
They can put away their pitchforks and torches.
Okay, I'll show you the title screen. King Tut.
Yeah, the CoCo version of the title screen is quite different than this.
Yeah. I don't know. I just took this off of some guy's website. Some L Curtis Boyle guy.
Yeah, for a while my website I was kind of mixing up the Dragon and the CoCo versions just to have a bit of variety type thing, but I probably should just show both because they are sometimes quite different. Dragon games in for particular used to include directions a lot more than CoCo ones.
Actually, probably you do have the CoCo version on there because there was two title screens. I just chose this one because.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna have the Steve Martin song on while you play it?
Yes.
That was
Absolutely. All right.
It's written by Andrew Hubble, the same guy who did The Frog by Tom Mix, which when we did our Frogger extravaganza was one of the ones people hated the most because of the controls. And Andrew Hubble learned a bit more before this game was written. This game's a lot better and easier to play.
Yeah. All right, there you go. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about today.
Excellent.
I will let Curtis now do the news.
Hey, Nick woke up.
Yeah.
No, my internet just came on.
Oh,
sweet.
So you missed the whole part where we want you to come on the Game On Challenge next week to play the TRS-80 Model 1.3 version of Eliminator.
Yeah, I missed all that.
We had somebody asking for you, wondering where you were because they haven't seen anything of you recently.
I was awake. I was here. I was ready to log in.
He was
and then I saw I had no internet. I said, well.
So you went back to sleep?
No, so he made
I did literally, yeah. I just noticed it came on now, so I logged in.
Welcome.
Well, that's better than saying you slept in.
Yeah, I'll do that during the show. I need all the voices to help me go to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Amazing how well that
ASMR
works.
CoCo.
So we all have to hum or something, or
yeah, the news when Curtis is talking is great for that.
Yeah. Just don't listen to me and drive. That's my only recommendation.
Oh, right.
I thought you
Oh, that's why you never let me drive on the road trips. You're afraid you're going to put me to sleep?
Yeah.
Notice you're starting to drift off the road, and it's too late by then.
Oh, you should have done what Tom Eric Gunderson said. I thought Nick was busy making the Choplifter clone.
Oh,
That would have been awesome.
He's porting.
Okay.
Want to do a second ad break before we get into the news?
Yeah, we could do that, or and then before news, upcoming events.
Or do you want me to do upcoming events before we do a commercial?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Let me find a correct window. Okay. So first of all, just another reminder, the Amigathon is currently going on. It's a 12-hour live stream by the Amigos that is raising money for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And Mark, I don't know if you've got an update on how they're doing, but
They're up to $4,019.
cool. That's pretty good considering they've got a goal of 5,000. They're under 1,000 to go to get to it. And it's streaming for another, what time is it in Eastern? 3:30, roughly?
So they're at 7 hours, 32 minutes right now.
Okay, so they got another 4.5 hours to go.
4.5 hours ago. So yeah, they could almost just about make it.
I think they will. Anyway, a lot of fun, but it goes to a good cause. None of the money goes to Boat Aaron and Brent. It all goes to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So, and this is their 7th year doing it. And they've raised, well, now including so far this year, over $30,000. Okay, so next weekend is VCF SoCal, which actually does have a few CoCo exhibitors. And Thomas Terryholmes will be talking about FujiNet, and I think he'll be mentioning the CoCo version he's been working on there as well. So hopefully somebody in the CoCo community and the CoCoNation can make it down to the show next week. And if you don't have enough, bandwidth or whatever to stream live, though that'd be great if you can, to pop on the show and kind of show what the show looks like. If you can at least take some pictures, maybe some videos, stuff that looks cool, and some of the CoCo related things there, and we can display them on the show the following week. That would be awesome.
Be there?
Pardon me?
Will Mikey Furman be there?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Michael in weeks now, so I'm not sure what's going on. I know Wayne Campbell's going to try to make it. Last I heard, I don't know if he's in chat. I haven't caught his name in chat today. I don't know if anybody else has. Anyway, there's a couple of CoCo specific booths that we covered last week. So definitely worth checking out if you're a CoCo guy. Plus, one of the people that bought some of the stuff from Steve Bjork's estate sale is bringing some of the stuff that Steve had in that estate sale to the show as well. So maybe we can take a look and take some pictures of those as well. Okay, next up after that is the Interim Computer Festival, which will hopefully become a VCF once again. And this is on March 23rd to 24th in the Pacific Northwest area and in Seattle specifically. That one, they've actually started to get the schedules and stuff here. I won't go and read all the people that are actually exhibiting, et cetera, too, but looks like they're getting a fairly good chunk of people going there, including David, a Tandy CoCo enthusiast. I'm not sure which David that is. Mark, if you do make it down there, and I think last I heard you're still planning on doing that, maybe you can figure out who David is, invite him on the show. So March 23rd and 24th, that one in Seattle, Washington. After that, we've got the Indy Classic. Now, this is co-run by Randy Kindig, famous of the Floppy Days and Antic podcasts, and he's been a guest on our show as well. This is April the 13th to 14th in Indianapolis, Indiana, at Crown Plaza Hotel. And that one, I think this is the second year they're doing it, maybe the third. But yeah, that one should be interesting because Randy's got a huge history interviewing people from the dawn of the computer age. He's kind of chronologically going through all the computers as they get introduced on his Floppy Days podcast. And, I can't remember what episode number they're on, but it's well over 100. So they've had he's had a lot of interviews of stuff that, and people that have, covered the early part of the computer industry in North America and across the seas too, on the other side of the world. So it should be a definitely interesting show. It looked like they had a lot of fun last year. I know we had some pictures and stuff from it last year, and we'll try to get that again this year as well. After that, of course, we got the 32nd annual last Chicago CoCoFest, which sold out the main room of tables already, and it started to sell out the stuff in the hallway. They added 14 tables, and one of those is already gone as of when I checked this morning. And of course, this is May 4th to 5th. May the 4th be with you. In Carroll Stream, Illinois, at the Holiday Inn and Suites, same location as last year. And just to show you here, this is the main hall. Red X's at every single table.
Oh,
And then
okay.
this little chunk here was the stuff added in to tables 100 and up, and 108's already been going. I'm not sure who Forgotten Machines is, but that's, they've already sold one of those now
Hopefully
too.
they don't
So
forget their machines.
And Curtis,
Yep.
Grant, there's a room that's across the hall, and Grant's looking into seeing if that's available. So we may have more table space that would be in a closed room that might be available. So look for a future announcement.
Okay. Actually, Brian, were you in on the meeting they had?
Yes.
Because there was, I remember somebody was mentioning some talk about being able to authorize officers or something to be able to purchase, if we get another, Steve Bjork type thing where, rare hardware or software goes out. Do you remember any details of that? Because Terry Steggy was trying to figure that out too.
So yeah, they're working through the details right now. We're trying to define that and trying to, what's the right word I'm going to say? Guidelines is maybe the best word. We're trying to get some guidelines together as far as an approval process and what happens with the acquisitions and things like that. So it's a work in progress. We had some takeaways for Eric, who's kind of putting together the document, and hopefully we'll have something maybe nearly finalized by the next meeting that we as the Glenside group can follow. And if we have situations like that again, we'll have some better guidance on how we want to handle situations like that when they do arise and when the opportunity is there.
Okay, cool. I'm glad something's getting done with that because obviously we have the vested interest to preserve stuff like that, and Glenside actually has the clout to be able to do it, I think, in some cases. I mean, definitely, it's going to be one to attend. Brian's 3-table display is going to be really, really cool. So you definitely want to come out to this show. If you've never been to a CoCoFest before, this is one you'll want to go to. Next up after that, we have the Boatfest Retro Computer Expo for 2024 in Hurricane, West Virginia. And that's the same people doing the Amigathon right now, doing the fundraising. And that's at the social event space, a couple blocks away from where it was last year. And you can order your tickets online. You can get the URL from the show notes on our Discord. And that's always a fun retro event. It's covers retro computers, retro video game systems, and home consoles. Occasionally stuff like, virtual pinball machines and stuff, and covers all platforms. But basically, it's just if you're into retro gaming, you'll love this show. And they have a pretty international clientele. There's actually multiple people flying in from Europe to attend this too. So if you want to meet some of the people from across the pond, good time to come out. That exact same weekend in Dallas is VCF Southwest. So that's June 14th, 16th as well at the Davidson-Gundy Alumni Center at the University of Texas, Dallas. And as I've mentioned in previous shows here, they actually have a show within a show thing, and there's going to be a Tandy Assembly meetup. It sounds like they might actually be reserving a room or something for it when I was reading on the TRS-80 Discord. So that it actually will be a separate area for them to have their little, gathering. So if any of you are in that area, would love to go down there. That'll be covering all the Tandy stuff, Tandy Model 1000s and, Tier City Model 100s and Tier City Model 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, 16, and all the rest. Pocket computers, CoCo's, the whole shebang. So, and Chronologica Gaming is also one of the guest speakers here. So if you want to catch up on some of the stuff he's been doing with going across all the platforms and video game arcades and home consoles, etc., for gaming, including a lot of CoCo stuff that he's been pretty impressed with. He's actually giving a speech there too. So, and then the last one that I've got on for so far is Tandy Assembly for 2024 is going to be September 27th to the 29th in Springfield, Ohio, at the Courtyard. And I don't think they have any exhibitors or schedules up quite yet. It is a little bit early, but yeah, everything's pretty well to be determined. They are having the trivia's contest again, hosted by Ian Maverick from Australia, though. And I've watched a few of those, and that's way too hard for me. I do good at CoCo trivia. I don't know that much about the rest of the machines, so I'd get my ass handed to me if I participated. So, and that's it for the shows upcoming.
Okay, and let's take a short break.
Hello, this is Mark Siegel, product manager for the Color Computer product line and designer of the Tandy Color Computer 3. And I'm proud to be a citizen of the CoCoNation.
Shall we play a game?
Making games for the CoCo for over 35 years. Go to my CoCo Games website at www.nickmarentes.com for information and pricing of my later games, as well as downloads of many of my older games.
CoCo 2's got personality, lots of practicality, fun, it's sensational, learn it's educational. CoCo 2's expandable, so easily commandable. It's programmable, so term exam grammable. Just you and CoCo 2 do what you want to do.
CoCo 2, the color computer with personality from Radio Shack. Sale price for Christmas giving from $149.95.
Radio Shack's CoCo 2, do what you want to do. Just you and CoCo 2.
I got a question for you before you get started.
Okay.
So when the computer came about, it was always kind of used for calculations and stuff, right? And then
You talking like early mainframes? You talking home
Yeah,
computers? What?
I mean, just the computer itself, you know, when it
Yeah.
was tubes and stuff.
It was a
And then-
calculator, basically.
So when did games become part of computers, do you think?
There's a bit of controversy on what the very first game was. The guy that created a tennis game using an oscilloscope to pick up a computer, that was in, what year was that? 58, 59, I think is the first generally accepted one at this point.
Hicolor simulation done on an oscilloscope back in the 50s as well. And
Yeah.
then in the 60s is when
Space War.
Space War and games specifically to be games for people to play start showing up. So the middle 60s.
So wouldn't it be when as soon as the computers ended up in the universities with the kids?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, pretty close. Though the original tennis one was actually done as a demo for a computer fair, like at a university, and the guy that designed it was not a student from what I remember, unless you can correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but I thought it was an older fellow that did that one.
I watched people play on a Selectric, IBM Selectric with bar paper, the hangman on a computer that was connected to another computer somewhere else in high school.
Yep. Yeah. No, there's
just
quite a few
after-
text games like the original Star Treks from the early 70s were done that way. There's, the computer adventure that, eventually became Zork on the micros was version called Colossal Cave Adventure on the mainframes and minis back in the early 70s as well.
Thanks.
Okay. So as far as CoCo and MC10 games go, first up we got Jim Gary. So he's ported another Laser 200 / Dick Smith. I spelled it disc in the notes. Whoops. VZ200 game for the MC10. This one's called Boulder Pit by AP Soft in 1985. So this actually, I think, was a commercial or at least a freeware thing. But basically it's kind of a combination of it's kind of a bit like Boulder Dash, but a little bit different too. And now this one here, he's actually updated this one at least 3 times this week. He fixed some bugs. He was trying to optimize it, run a bit better. He's running it under the MC Basic compiler that Greg Dion did, so it's running a bit faster than a standard basic program would do. And it's got 12 levels. And he's actually published before he fixed the last set of bugs. He actually published a playthrough showing most levels here. Bring the volume down just a tad. So like Boulder Dash, but without the scrolling, you're basically trying to collect all the diamonds, and all these boulders are falling. That's the O's. And you got a timer going on, and you got bombs that you can set off, and you can trap yourself, etc. And you basically collect it. But it's fairly well done. It's actually a pretty decent game, and with 12 different layouts for the levels and stuff here, that actually gets pretty challenging.
If we ever got him on the show, I would like to ask him what's the most complicated game that the MC10 has.
He has been on the show, but it's been quite a while, I think. What I'd really like to see is Jim come out to a fest.
Yeah. He can autograph the bottom of mine.
Right? He can autograph MC10s.
Yeah, he can put an end to all that holding up a window thing or holding open a door too.
Yeah.
Well, having an MC10 graffiti.
I mean, once the people have started making equivalents of the 20K packs, composite video output mods, the CoCo VGA now works in an MC10. Darren Atkinson, the designer of the CoCo SC, of course, did their equivalent too, which is an SD card reader that also has 32K RAM and extended basic added. You can actually do a fair bit in the MC10. I probably wouldn't use the stock keyboard for programming on it, but you can definitely play some pretty decent games on it, and you can definitely write some decent software. And their basic is faster than ours.
And Brendan
also did a Infocom game player on there, so you can actually play the C3 format Infocom games on the MC10 as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did I miss that, or did I just forget?
Maybe you just forgot. So
That could be.
yeah, it's out there.
Cool.
And Brendan Donnie, he has his Pi key, which makes a joystick available.
Right. Yep. Which Jim has used and demonstrated on a few of his games. He actually wrote a whole pack of them to take advantage of that. Anyway, I just showed a different level here, just so you can kind of see there's different mazes and stuff that you got to work your way through. So it's got some pretty cool stuff in it.
Pretty
You get landslides. That's cool.
Yep. That was the part I think you really needed to compile it. I think the checking to get that to work in straight basic was a bit too slow. The other one he did is called Matilda's Monopoly for Two, which is actually a 2-player only version of Monopoly, originally written by David Barker in 1975. Now, the original version was a text version, kind of like we were talking about earlier with Hunt the Wumpus. And Jim decided to spice it up a little bit, so he actually adds in the option for the player to select seeing a part of the board. So the basic, main gameplay is this text version type stuff here. So I'll just fast forward a bit here. So basically, you pick your 2, and then it gives you a list of what you want to do, your properties, and what you landed on, and money collected, et cetera, like that. But if you actually go a little bit later here, I'll show you. He did a pretty good representation in low res of the board. So it kind of shows you the portion of the board you're actually in right now, not the whole thing at once, but you can actually go through and see other parts of it as you go.
That's nice.
And it's recognizable. You can see like the train and
I'm impressed. Yeah, that's something.
It's well laid out, I have to say. So if you have an MC10 and you got a second human being around to play against, that would be a fun one to try. Next up after that, Retro Males on YouTube did an episode of his 80s program of the week, featuring Planet Invasion for the Color Computer with OUR. Now, this YouTube channel we've talked about before. I think he's the guy that's doing all the archiving. He did a special on archiving like CoCo cassette tapes and how to set the right volumes levels and make sure it's mono, et cetera, like that. And he actually posted a bunch because he'd inherited a system with a bunch of tapes at the time from somebody, I think it was in Denmark or something. Can't remember off the top of my head, but somewhere in Europe. And this is kind of a continuation of that because he's kind of showing, creating a tape image audio file of Planet Invasion. Now he did something here. We've done it once in our show back when it was still called CoCo Talk. And also back, he goes for a bit of the history of it in his video here. Back in the early 80s, some of the radio programs, and I don't remember any of the states in Canada doing this, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys might have heard some, but apparently UK and in Europe, they actually would broadcast over the air on the radio the tape sounds of a computer game or something like that, that people could just download it off the radio, record it on their little cassette recorder, and then load it into their computer. So it's like broadcasting it over the air. And I know Steve had tried this on CoCo Talk and, semi-successfully. Go ahead.
Yeah, they did that on over television channels on BBC as well.
Okay, did it ever happen in North America? Because I honestly don't remember any.
I believe it was done a couple of times as tests in various places for video text and teletext type stuff, but it was not widely done like it was in Britain. Okay.
Rick, also, we're hearing your keyboard typing there, so you may want to mute while you're typing.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe I'll play a little bit of the history here just for those of you who haven't seen it. So he goes kind of the preamble. So
It's one or two letters now. This one comes in from Cambridge, of all places. Someone who's written into the competition says, my computer tells me that the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 81. Or, if you don't use all capital letters, 54. What have you got, General?
Well, I always thought it was 42, but an answer for the ZX81 competition floppy disk from Gareth Jones of Abergavenny, and he says that all our programs load first time, which is good to hear.
Well, see what you make of this one. This is this week's competition.
Do you imagine what the parents at the time were trying to figure what the heck's coming across the radio?
Mainly fairly simple programs because, of course...
The real.
So yeah, he took a Planet Invasion here. And he kind of shows it, getting dumped to the screen, et cetera. And then basically he broadcasts. I won't play it because it's kind of irritating to hear the cassette screeching in your ears here. But you can actually literally download Planet Invasion from his YouTube video. And the game he chose was Planet Invasion. Of course, this is the properly spelled color from the UK version. This is also was available in the Dragon, if I remember correctly.
The Defender, was it?
Yeah, that's Steve Gieseking, I believe, was the author. Spectral Associates did the original.
I got this with two other CoCo programs the other day. Those are Cuthbert in the Mines and Devil Assault. You can try those two over on the RetroMails archive. This is an arcade-type game where you control a fighter aircraft that flies horizontally.
Yeah, so there's a screenshot of Planet Invasion running. I used to play this one a fair bit. One of the better, not the best, of the Defender clones. Anyway, to have an interesting experiment. I'm curious to see, like it's been mentioned here, it seems to have been a lot more popular in the UK and mainland Europe to do this kind of thing of broadcasting the actual audio file, either over the air or nowadays, through YouTube or whatever, to actually, save it to a cassette. That didn't happen as much here, I don't believe. But I'd be interesting to see how many people he's actually going to have give this a shot. So hopefully he does a follow-up if he mentions he gets some emails from people saying, yeah, this worked, or I took 15 tries to get the volume level right, or whatever.
I do believe that there was a guy in Canada here recently that was doing something like that on his YouTube stream as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
We did it on CoCo Talk one time.
Yep. That's the one I remember because Steve and I had been talking about it for a while and then decided to give it a shot.
Did you notice this guy's buttons on his TV are yellowed?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, he must have that plastic with the anti-fire retardant stuff in it.
The bromide in it, yeah.
Brominated plastic keeps you from dying. We hope.
Maybe.
At least bursting into flames, yes.
Next up, I'll do a follow-up here. So Rick Adams, we mentioned last week, was actually fitting a lot more of the original plan dragon for the Shanghai cartridge when you win, the animated flames coming out of the mouth type thing. And a little bit later after the show last week, he actually got it. So the full graphic is coming out now. This is based on the new disc version that you can get off of his GitHub, which I'll get into just a second here. So the first thing here, this is now what the screen looks like if running the new disc version of Shanghai. Before, it just encompassed this little tiny bit of the head with the flames here. That's all he could fit in on the cartridge. Because I think he was told Shanghai had to fit on a 16K ROM. I don't think he was allowed to use a 32, if I remember correctly. He definitely wasn't allowed to use the MMU hardware like Predator or Robocop did. So that's cool in and of itself. But then while going through it, and let's magnify this a bit here. He found on the discs, so these are the discs that we ripped for him or copied for him back at CoCoFest, back when it was still at the old place in 2018, I think it was, which is the original source code and stuff that he still had hanging around in discs. And he found some of the assets here. And one of the assets that never got used in the original cartridge is the original title screen. And this is based, I believe, on the Amiga version. For those of you, the Amigas that have played the official Shanghai by Activision, let me know if I'm remembering that right, but I believe this is it. So basically, he says designed by Brody Lockhart, the person who did the original versions for it, and then programmed by Rick Adams for the CoCo version. But this was supposed to be the original title screen on the Shanghai game, not just the the text with a few sample tiles that we got on the actual card. So a little bit of history there too. But at any rate, if you sorry,
oh, I was just about to say you should get Dave to make a ROM pack that's 32K and put a full version on ROM.
Yeah, I think combining the full-size Dragon plus this title screen, I don't know if that would even fit even on 32K. So you might have to do an MMU style, either that or get some really good data compression. Or you can just download the disk image.
Well, you can. I thought he might have wanted to do a ROM pack, that's all.
Yeah. Well, the full Dragon version, he should be able to do. That should fit on 32K, I'm thinking. But the 32 or the full Dragon image for when you win the game plus the title screen, that might be a bit too much to fit. Anyway, if you go onto his GitHub, which is, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, YGGDRASIL radio, which is his
Yggdrasil radio.
Yeah, I'm used to that from the Swamp Thing comics. That was part of the Parliament of Trees thing, but I know
Norse
dates way
mythology.
before that. Yeah.
Yeah, Norse mythology, Tree of Life.
Yeah. At any rate, if you go to his site, then the actual full link straight to Shanghai is on the show notes, which you can get on the CoCo Discord, of course. We'll take you right here. He's actually got the disk image pre-made up. You can just download, install an emulator, install it on a real CoCo. He's got a bit of a README here as well. He says the development branch is used to build an updated version of the game with an improved victory screen to include more of the intended Dragon graphic, now the full graphic, and can use more memory than the cartridge version was allowed to use. And then the master branch is for the historical look at the original game, which actually has a few, stepping stones as he was programming. Because when we went and restored his discs, he had various, cutoffs during development, so you can actually see how the game progressed over several months before it actually went out to be burned on the cartridge.
So is Shanghai another game that's taken 40 years to develop?
Except it's a good game. Next up, this is one I'm really excited about. We've been following it. If you're on the CoCo Discord in the, I think it's the general CoCo Games channel. Rich N, I'm trying to remember what his last name is, what the N stands for. Does anybody here remember?
Natali.
Natali? Okay. Yeah, because he did a Space War clone, didn't he? A few years back? For the CoCo 1 and 2? What? Sorry, what was that?
Yes, he did.
Okay, yeah, so I'm remembering that right. So he's now working on a CoCo 1 and 2 version of Spy Hunter using artifact graphics, and we've shown a little bit of screenshots and stuff from it. Now he's got a bit of a video he put up, which actually is showing a couple of the weapons. It's showing the machine guns. It's showing the oil slick. It shows a bit of the train going by. It actually has the animation where the truck, when you die, you crash. a truck drives out and then lowers your new car out of the back of it, you know, a la Knight Rider or something like that. So he's actually got the screen scrolling. He's got some water and stuff going by. It's actually looking really, really good. No sound in here yet, but I'll play the whole thing because it's cool. And he's made a lot of progress the last little bit. And those of you who played the arcade game will definitely recognize like that sequence. You can see variable speeds, so you can slow down. And if it speeds up enough, it'll actually start scrolling faster, not just move the car up. And some really well designed sprites, you know, using the just simple 4-color artifacting. And you can see a selection of the weapons on the bottom there.
And the truck poops the car out, and away you go.
Yeah, just like the arcade.
That's it.
There's the oil slick. Oh, you still got a fair ways to go, but it's looking really, really good. Like I wish that this had come back out in the 80s.
Right.
I'm guessing, has he specified system requirements? I'm guessing this can be a 64K game.
I have a steering wheel that I'm considering modifying for the CoCo that I'd love to play this game. This was my favorite game. I could have put myself through college the number of quarters I shoved in to this game back in the day. So.
I had a similar story at the beginning of university because this is one of the games I had at the university arcade. And then we found out that somebody had broken the tab that holds the whole steering wheel mechanism in the front part of the panel shut. And you could actually, we had to make sure that we crowded around so that people that own the arcade couldn't see it. But you could just pry it open and then just start dinging the quarter thing. And we just rack up a ton. And we'd throw in a quarter once in a while so they made a little bit of money off of it. But yeah, we used to flip the dip switches and change the settings and stuff too. It was fun. But this, of course, has the Peter Gunn theme in the original arcade game, which is just thumping over your head with the speakers. It was awesome. So really looking forward to this. So keep going, Richard. You're doing awesome.
Hope he's okay.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Next up, we've got Tricob 1974. I'm trying to remember. That's a Rick or Richard too, isn't it? It's his real name. He's done about quite a few really cool. I think it's Richard Kelly. He's done some really cool basic games. So he did a recording here, kind of a playthrough, long play of Ladderman 2, aka Super Ladderman, which he released a couple of years ago, I believe. And unfortunately, the version of MAME that he's using for his recording here is quite old, so the screen ratio is completely wrong. It's twice as wide as it should be. So it's going to look weird. But I'll play just a little bit. But if you want to see like a bunch of the different levels and stuff here, and he's kind of issued a challenge to see how far people can get into the game as well. But this is one of the ones that's written in BASIC, and it's actually quite good. You got little hourglass as it loads. Well, it's got little animations, and you got to go pick up the treasure things. And if I remember correctly, when he releases, he actually released a map editor, so you can create your own levels for it too. And I think the game comes with like 50 built in or something. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah, it's got a pile.
I know he did a fair number of, pretty fancy techniques to get, a basic game running at pretty good speed, even with these little background animations like flames and torches.
Is this in BASIC?
Yeah.
That's pretty
And I
good.
don't think there's even ML subroutines. I think it's pure basic. Little propeller beanie hat there.
You said pure BASIC. That's not RS-DOS BASIC.
No, RS basic, but no machine language subroutines.
Oh, okay.
From what I remember. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm remembering that right. There's a little cross dissolve type style there. I'm presuming he knows about the fast get puts if you're on a byte boundary. That probably is helping quite a bit.
Yeah, because I noticed it's doing the get puts fairly quickly.
Yeah. And with the animation still running in the background too, like he's got a whole wall of flames in the bottom here animated during I'm guessing, I haven't looked at the code, but I'm guessing he's probably page flipping between two screens. So he's got the animation kind of, in this case, built in.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That would give him an opportunity to, draw the sprites over top of each other and, backgrounds and stuff like you actually seeing it.
You've done a good job.
Yeah, it visually looks quite good. I mean, it looks better at the proper aspect ratio, but I actually did play this one a fair bit when he first released it. And it's one of the better basic games I've seen, especially, on a CoCo 1 and 2.
I mean, even this crossfade thing really hides the draw time. It's well done.
There's little hidden things, and the levels get pretty complicated later on. Let's fast forward a little bit here to show you. I hear you have the danger of falling off a ladder. But if you like this type of game, sort of like a Cashman or
I would say that ladder level reminds me so much of Cashman.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few levels of Cashman exactly like this. Collecting treasures and on individual screens for each level type thing, and you kind of have to figure out which way to navigate it so you don't die. And it's a good game. It's been a couple years, I think, he first released it, but he's kind of issued a challenge of it. So I'm kind of curious if people will take him up on it too. Chronological Gaming's taking a bit of a break, but he did do a couple broadcasts at the beginning of the week, and one of them included Space War for the Dragon 32. Now, this is, of course, the Spectral Associates Space War, originally for the CoCo, published by Spectral Associates back in 1981, which is a year before the Dragon even came out. So this is one of the ones that was cross-licensed from Spectral to Microdeal. And for those of you not seen it, it looks kind of like Asteroids, but it kind of plays a little bit differently. I mean, there's some commonality with Asteroids. I'll just fast forward. The Dragon version is built in instructions, which the original did not. For some reason, and I don't know if this is the default or if this is something you can pick, but he chose the white background screen. I would have left it the plain old black background like the original Spectral one.
Screen. I am a very small, colorful ship, and you see I have different space mines to blow up. Yeah, the control of those amazing because
one of the cool things about this is a dual stick shooter. So basically, the first stick controls the direction and acceleration of your ship itself, and the second one controls the aiming of your gun. So you can fly left and fire to the right, for example. You don't have to always fire in the direction you're going in. So if you have two players on this simultaneously, one controlling the gun, one controlling the ship movement, it's actually a much better play experience in my view. But you have this little Death Star you can try to shoot through the shield, the hole in the shield, kind of like Star Castles type thing. It's got a flaming sun that will suck things in and kill it, and asteroids flying around. There's space mines, all kinds of stuff. So if you're into that type of game and you want something a little bit different than asteroids, this is a good one to try. But like I said, you will need two joysticks to play it properly.
It seems to be better in the P Mode 4. It's the black.
Yeah, and the CoCo version came default that. Now I think because the Dragon, because of PAL, didn't have artifact colors. A lot of games gave the option you could pick the green 4-color palette, the white 4-color palette, or plain black and white. And on some games, I think it did look better if you did pick one of these, and this is not one of them. This is one that should have just been.
No. Well, Space War, and it's white out.
Yeah.
Who has white space? Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to remember on the intro screen if it actually gave you the option.
Nebula, come on.
It's Christmas in space.
Here we go. It's time to play Space War.
In the middle of a tight galaxy.
By a micro deal at some time
Christmas in space. Now there's a game I want to see.
Yeah, it does look like that. And we're fast forwarding the cassette. We don't have time for loading. I'm not giving you the true 1982 experience. Do we need instructions? Yes. Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
These might explode too close to it.
It is nice, the Dragon, because it came with 32K minimum. A lot of the old games that ran 16K in the CoCo, this being one of them, they actually updated the game itself to have the instructions built in the game, not having to put on a little cassette thing. So it was easier to pirate, basically.
Joystick button will have no effect.
I'm trying to see if they had a
to move your ship around.
Selection for a color set here, because a lot of the Microdeal games did. No, it doesn't look like it. Looks like it goes straight in the game.
Like it did on the CoCo. So
Anyway, that was an interesting one. It's one of the near to launch titles on the Dragon. And Spectral did a lot of games for them like that, and so did Computerware and a few of the others like Tom Mix. I'll ask the gaming ones here. So this is a gaming channel by LRU, a channel on YouTube. We've covered this a few times before. What he does is he plays a lot of games on a variety of platforms. He happened to include a few Dragon ones this last little while. And basically tries to do is he does a recording on video of him playing a game with no cheats and plays it legitimately, and then records a score. And I think he's one of the people that actually submits them to the what website is that does the high scores for old 8-bits? I can't remember which one off the top of my head. Well, whichever one it is. I think he mentions it in the comments here, but basically he submits the scores here, and you have to kind of legitimately show that you played the game without cheating type thing.
Twin
So the ones
Galaxies.
Sorry?
Twin Galaxies.
Right. Yeah, they do. That's the ones where the whole Billy Mitchell controversy is, right?
Yeah.
The Donkey Kong and etc. So this last week here, he played Caterpillar Attack, which is a Tom Mix title, Ice Castles, which was Crystal Castles in North America by Thundervision, I believe, and Cuthbert and the Golden Chalice, which is actually a Dragon exclusive at the time. And of course,
Right.
you can see here he plays a bunch of other games for a bunch of other systems as well. So anyway, that's it for the Game On news. So I will let you fire up the intro.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L Curtis Boyle.
Okay. So CoCoTown has released 2 videos this week, and this is part of his assembly language CoCo 1 and 2 series. And now he's getting into assembly language sound. And this is the first 2 parts. There's more still coming, and he's kind of figuring out between the 1-bit and the 6-bit, and then how does it work, and how do you set up sine waves, and how do you set up notes, etc. Once again, they're very well presented with a bit of humor. He shows you mistakes when things don't work right. We've actually got multiple really good assembly language tutorials actually going on right now on YouTube for the CoCo world. We've got the CoCo 3 stuff from George Jansen, which I think I remember you might have a new one this week too. I'll be covering shortly. CoCoTown's doing one. Of course, Henry's doing his series where he's actually going to get a 4th on ROM booting up on the CoCo itself. So he's doing all the low-level routines there too. So if you guys have wanted to learn assembly language on any of the CoCos, 1, 2, or 3, and want to do graphics or want to do keyboard or want to do sound and all the basic stuff there, you've got a multitude of stuff to choose from. And maybe we should get you guys all down to CoCoFest and have a big assembly language tutorial panel or something like that. Or maybe a cage match or something like that. That would be pretty cool.
Assembly cage match.
Either could work.
And we've had all of you as guests on the show, so you guys kind of are aware of each other at the very least. So anyway, just to give you a bit of a background what he's doing in the sound here, I will just play the intro here, and then I'll let you guys watch the videos on your own, because otherwise I'd be stretching this like we were hinting at earlier to make it 6 hours plus.
Hello, and welcome to the first in a short series of videos about assembly language sound for the CoCo. Many of you are probably familiar with the basic commands for playing sound, such as play and sound. They're fairly versatile. You can use them to generate tones in a wide range of pitches, and you can very quickly play a succession of short sounds to generate sound effects for games. But they do have some limitations. If you're playing music, you can only play 1 note at a time, no chords. Also, when you're using those commands, nothing else happens. It's just playing sound and all the rest of the action stops. And there's only 1 instrument you can play, and it's just tone. Using assembly language, we can try to work past those limitations and do something cooler. It is my ultimate goal to be able to play 4-note chords while other stuff is happening. Can we do it? I don't know. I think we can. We're going to try. In this video, we're going to introduce how sound is represented digitally.
Anyway, the first episode really goes into like sound, like how amplitude works and volume and frequencies done by the varying narrowness of the actual sine waves, et cetera, going into a bit of stair stepping and square waves versus sine waves, et cetera, et cetera. So really good background on how sound works. And the second episode kind of goes a bit more into generating on the CoCo itself. Also explaining how to select your sound sources through the PIAs here, where you can select the 1-bit or you can select the 6-bit DAC. This is something Nick is actually very familiar with, because he actually did a two voice and I think a third voice for sound effects on pipes, wasn't it, for the background sound while the game's running?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And of course, there's a few other games like Grabber, Crazy Painter, and a few others that also do background sound. Now, this is a lot easier to do in a CoCo 3 because you actually have a timer interrupt, so you can actually much more closely control the quality of the sound. And plus, you have 1.78 megahertz, so it makes it a lot faster to handle it. On the CoCo 1 and 2, unless you're going to do completely software-based timing loops, the only real way to get decent quality background sound running continuously is to use the H-Sync, which only gives you 57 CPU cycles per scan line to do anything with, and you can kind of overflow it. So you just go past the first scan line, and then you finish the sound routine, then you run off and do your graphics stuff. So basically, you get like a 51% time for sound, 49% time for graphics, reading controllers, AI, and everything else. Which means you're a bit limited on the types of games. I wouldn't do a full screen 4-way shooter doing that type of technique there, because it's going to be dog slow. But you can definitely do some cool stuff, as Nick demonstrated when he did his pipes game. Yeah, it is a great game. Actually, I think you use that for some sound effect techniques in the newest Neutroid too, right? Reloaded.
Yeah, I did.
Yep, which is a decent version of Neutroid.
Oh, what's wrong with Curtis?
Well, because I'm not talking about your older, crappier ones.
Amazing what burning your hair can do, eh?
Apparently, it singed my brain cells. Anyway, he goes in a really good background of it, and then he goes into the actual, how to do it on the CoCo itself. And definitely worthwhile. That's a series that is still ongoing, and I expect a few more episodes. I don't know if he's going to be able to achieve his 4-voice in the background, because I know he wants to do this for his Moon Patrol clone, and that actually has a fair bit of scrolling with stack blasting and stuff. And of course, if you're doing pure stack blasting, you have to shut interrupts off in order to not have it corrupt the stack, calling these, IRQ routines, et cetera, to service it. It would have been much better if the original CoCo 1 and 2 had actually hooked up H-Sync to FIRQ instead of IRQ, because then you'd have a lot less overhead and you could have done a lot more with it. But that's unfortunately not the way they hooked it up. They hooked it up to FIRQ to the cartridge port, I think, to detect a card or something stupid, wasn't it, Nick?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
FERC goes to cart, and there's a serial line that goes to FERC, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, the serial one makes a bit more sense, because if you're trying to do a high baud rate, that might be a bit better. But I don't think they hooked up to the right pin though. But then they hook it up to like the carrier detector, something stupid. I can't remember now.
Oh, there was a
They
bug.
put it up. Yeah, they hooked it up to carrier detect.
Yeah, because you want to register that 15,000 times a second.
Right.
Yeah.
And also you can race the beam. You can race the beam without having to use the ERC on the IRQ. This is something that both CoCoTown and I got into on our channels. And I actually used.
Yeah, where you just monitor the PIA manually, right? You just read
use the sync instruction.
Yeah, but then you've lost CPU time, because now your CPU is stuck until the next pseudo IRQ happens.
And in part of racing the beam is getting done what you need to get done during that scan line.
Yeah,
so
but if you sync it near halfway through the scan line, you're not going to be doing any processing until the sync is done, right?
Correct. You're not. And that's so that just requires thinking differently about how you're processing. So,
well, it also limits like how much of a speed intensive game you can actually try to do.
Actually,
true.
Yeah. That was my point, basically, is if you want to, like I said, if you want to do a 4-way full screen scroller, you're probably not going to be doing it that way.
No, you won't be racing the beam on a scroller. But if you're doing everything scanline wise, look at how cartridges for the Atari 2600 are programmed. That's how they work, is they use what they call display kernels. And during the scan lines, that's all you're doing is display work. And then in the vertical blank, then that's when you do a lot of your other game logic.
Then you can think.
You can do the display and the sound scan line by scan line, and you don't even need the.
Okay, now I can think.
Right. Exactly.
How it works.
Yeah.
We
Actually,
should mention that
go
this
ahead.
is all. I was going to say, we should mention this is all tied to the external clock, so we can run our system clock at an even multiple of the display speed and do all of these chasing the beam kind of things, where an internal 6809 can't do that. So that's why you have a serial terminal for the little development board, because without the external clock, you can't match the display speed. You can't do all of these sharing RAM with the VDG, chasing the beam, none of that stuff. You have to be exactly on the right time.
Now, there is a trick you can employ during V blank. You can actually kick in the full double speed RAM and ROM up at 1.78, so you're basically running CoCo 3 speeds. And you won't corrupt the display at the same time. You can actually, get an extra bit of AI and sampling your joysticks and whatever else you need to do during the V blank. So that definitely does help. And of course, if you put this on a ROM cartridge, you can actually run double speed ROM without any problems, which some games like Farfall, for example, do, which can give you a fair bit of extra time to do stuff as well. I do wish they had hooked up the FIRQ. Like the CoCo 3 has the option of doing the programmable timer interrupt or the H-Sync hooked up an FIRQ instead. And that is just a smarter one, because you only have to save the registers you really need to save for a sound routine. You don't have to save them all every time, like a regular RQ. Or like you mentioned, you can do the clear and wait for interrupt or the sync probably more often to time it to the beam. But then you are basically throwing away some CPU time to make sure that it's synced. And then on to the next assembly language one. And this is George Jansen, of course, who has done a series actually on our show before. And now he's going his CoCo 3 route, where he's actually showing you how to use graphics and stuff from the MMU on the CoCo 3 specifically. And he actually published 3 different parts here about doing sprites on the background and then having them going over top of background graphics, who kind of explains how that does. And he does it through several different techniques. Some are very slow. Which is first episodes I've basically covered, which is basically not much faster than doing it in BASIC. So I can find one here. So this is the background he's going to be overlaying over top. Let's find a little animation he did.
And we're going to load in our program, which we haven't looked at yet, a program called Twisty02. So enough for what we're doing there. Go back to our other screen.
I guess it's more of the explanation of it, so let's skip that.
Screen. So whatever garbage is in there, as soon as we execute this, the very first time you see it flash, you're going to see whatever garbage may be left in there. I don't think.
So originally he was playing this with me one episode, but M being so long, he split into 3 parts. I should mention.
We'll have this there. So second time run, it'll be okay. So I'm going to hit execute and we'll see if garbage does pop up. Well, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it did. Okay, and anyway, there's our rocket moving across, and look at the line down there blinking. Remember, one buffer had the line, the other one didn't.
Yeah, so that's basically he's page flipping is what he's explaining there, or double buffering, whatever you want to call it. And he put a little line on the second screen so you can tell which screen you're currently viewing. But basically you draw on one while you're displaying the other. So the player only sees the finished rendered frame rather than actually watching the drawing and background masking and stuff going live. But yeah, as you notice, that was a little bit slow. So he goes through and speeds it up quite a bit on this new part 3. And it's still not as optimized. Could be that we're not using compiled sprites or anything else that you could be doing to do quite a bit speed increase. And there was a place here he actually showed it. All right, here's talking about merging your palettes because he's got several different images with different colors, and then you have these empty spots that weren't used. You have to kind of shift them around because they're using different colors to get the combined palette. Where you had the actual animation here. I can't find it, but you can definitely watch the episode, 3 episodes there. But basically, these 3 Galaga ships here all scrolled across at the same time and a lot faster than that first demo I showed you. So this is when he optimized it somewhat. So it's moving a lot faster. But yeah, he's kind of showing you these different techniques. You know, they all work. Some are quite a bit slower than others. So it kind of shows you, like, you know, the advantages of actually thinking through how your code's going to run to optimize it before you get started. But on the other hand, if it's sometimes easier to understand doing it the easy but slower way, just so you can get the concepts first, and then you actually get into the, okay, now that you know how it works here's a logical way to make it run a lot better type thing, but might be a bit too complicated to get across when you're just explaining the concepts. Thanks, George. Also, I should mention that, as usual, George has his own channel on our Discord for this series particularly, and he actually uploads the source codes and disk images of the source codes to that channel. So if you want to save yourself typing in of all this stuff, you know, grab it there and then try it for yourself. Bob, are you still on the call here?
He's snoozing.
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to mute it then and let you kind of explain your TurboX LED board version 1.
Basically just going over the actual installation now that I have pretty much fleshed out the whole process. Showing the boards, the panel that I got from JLC, fully assembling it from scratch.
I see yours actually made it to your house.
Yeah.
Right?
Unlike Rick's.
Well, they didn't the first time. They were reported as delivered and it wasn't here, had not been delivered. And I called the post office and they actually showed up in a few days. Kind of crazy. But
so they might have gotten him back from the original delivery address and then redelivered it to you?
Maybe. I don't
or they
know
lied and it's never left?
Yeah.
Like certain chocolate bars did last year?
Right. So I show how I put a couple of notches in there so that it fits perfectly in the little between those 2 posts.
Yeah, and then you have a section here called mounting problems. And I think this is the different power supplies between different CoCos.
So yeah, in a Color Computer 3, the cage around the transformer is actually a little too close to the lid, and you can only use the top hole. Or there's 2 of them, and
oh, gotcha.
So those 2 will clear the transformer as is. But then there's also a way you can just take the bottom half of that cage off and put it back in the case. And if you bend those things perfectly flat, you can make it work. I think I show that here. Not necessarily bending it perfectly flat, but I show taking the bottom half of the cage off.
What I like is you finally found a use for those little holes in the case, though, because it perfectly fits those LEDs.
Right.
Yeah, they're nice. Just 3 millimeters square.
If you were to glue your LEDs, crazy glue your LEDs sideways under the holes, would that clear? I mean, it doesn't fill the hole nicely like the original orientation, but it would snug it right up to the top of the case, and maybe you could keep the shielding around the transformer. Just out loud, you know.
The other thing that I don't actually have this problem, because if you look at this computer, it's converted to run off DC.
Right, you got no stinking transformer.
Oh, that's what's going on there.
So that's why, yeah, I didn't even think about this originally when I'm putting these LEDs in, and then I did one with a transformer in it, and I'm like, oh,
oopsies.
Now, out of curiosity, there's those corresponding holes in the case that you're putting the LEDs into. There's ones on the other side by the cartridge port too, isn't there?
No.
Oh, there isn't.
I mean,
okay.
there's slots, not square holes.
So that way you'd have to glue them in to hold them there or something. It would just. I just thinking maybe you could reroute the wiring to go to the other side if there's more room that doesn't have a transformer in the way.
You got the 2 rows of them on the sides of the transformer that are perfect squares. And then all the rest of the way is just slotted, yeah.
Okay.
And then
Hey,
I
it's
go
it's a cool project, and you've got, I think you ordered 10 of the boards or something here, so that other people are interested, they can
Oh.
contact you.
I ordered 5 boards because that's the minimum, and each board is 10 boards on it.
Oh, so you got a big old pocket full of those things.
So if anybody wants one, you've got lots.
And I've sent out a couple of bare panels to a few different people, and I'm making room because there's a version 2 board that's just about ready.
And is it something you can reveal what's changed on it, or?
Well, the main thing is I totally screwed up almost every single component value in the silk screen.
I think I remember you mentioning that in the previous video.
There's like one capacitor on there that's right. So I corrected all that, and I just kind of reworked it for a little. I wanted to use a different connector. Actually, these magnetic connectors that I got.
Okay.
So I had to accommodate that on the board, and just kind of clean it up a little. And also, I added an optional. Sometimes the LEDs flash when you turn it on, like the turbo light will flash for a split second. So there's a capacitor and resistor you can put in there that'll prevent that if you want to. This is where I'm showing the silver tape. I use aluminum tape to hold the wire to the lid there. And I also use it to run the clock line, the red wire there. I hold it to the edge of the board just for cable management.
Okay. Anyway, go check that out at La Coco Strangietto. That's Bob's YouTube channel. And he's got a whole bunch of cool CoCo projects on there. So, and more to come. He occasionally does live streams as well of some of his projects as he's assembling things. Do you have any of those coming up that you're planning, or?
Well, I'm actually working on another video that I did the modification to this joystick, and working on some Gimme X related stuff.
Will you be on the virtual CoCoFest?
I think I'm going to try to do that, yeah. And I might just, I'm actually trying to get back into some of my basic coding in color fog and get that working with the SDC better. Now that I'm getting my hardware kind of sorted out.
Oh, cool.
So, been a lot of fun this past year, and I'm really enjoying being back in the scene.
Yeah, so it's good to have you back. I remember when we first found your channel, when you started it up again, there was your tower case, CoCo in a PC tower case type thing that you had dug out.
Many people have a color computer that can be the bench.
Yep. Next up, a couple of updates from TRC Retro Programming. You just showed up in our chat too, so welcome to the chat. And he's working on CoCo Ultimate, is kind of an Ultimate clone. So his first video here is kind of he's updated his drawing to use a sword, so he actually animates the fighter in the lead, and the wizard kind of follows around. So I'll play just a little clip of that.
Only one who strikes enemies directly. So he can strike the enemies this way. And so he's using his sword. And the wizard is going to be reserved for spell casting. And so the game will work.
And the wizard kind of follows in the behind the fighter is kind of the lead character. But this actually is one thing that I think is kind of a neat way of doing things. Because your standard Ultima style games, you have to take turns with every single player, and they move this guy up one, and this guy shoots a magic missile, and this guy swings a sword, and it's a bit tedious. And that's, I think, a lot of the reasons that Ultima style games aren't as popular nowadays as they were back in the day, because we just seem to have a lot less free time these days type thing, and so everybody wants the quick hit, do things easy. And he's kind of solving that here, because you basically move your two characters around simultaneously under joystick control or keyboard control. And they each have their own separate function. If the fighter actively fights in the lead, and then the magic user will cast a spell from behind type thing, which means you don't have to sit here and move them individually and line them up to start being able to aim at somebody or whatever. So it should make the playing a lot quicker for the player to handle, I think. So that's an interesting way of handling it, which I don't think I've seen too often. So, and then his second one, let's find my notes here. Basically, just fixing a couple of bugs about walking in different directions, because on the previous video we had it working, basically in a couple of directions, but not all four of them yet, and that's been fixed now too. So, progress is being made. Next up, and this is kind of a follow-up unexpectedly to what Ron was showing about running a CoCo 3 with one of two available programs, terminal programs that actually handle ANSI graphics, the full amount, like full colors, all the special ANSI characters for doing, gradiated shading and stuff, basically in the IBM font. And basically we had one by Sockmaster done back in the day called Twilight Terminal, which came out in 1997, I think. And he actually wrote it as a terminal program to view the ANSI BBS he wrote for the CoCo that you had to wait to test it with, basically. And Michael Pitsley, and you may remember his name from, he did a whole bunch of the educational software titles, YouTube videos, long ones, like 20 to 30 minutes, including some of the stuff like, Clyde Tombaugh's Discovery of Pluto and stuff. Like he did a lot of the ones that were the audio mixed with computer programming. So you'd actually get audio voices and music and stuff coming in the background while it's showing stuff on the graphic screen. And so he did a kind of a follow-up here. He's going through and trying the CoCo 3 with terminal programs to log into some of the current BBSs, ANSI-based BBSs that you can get onto using, the ASP, et cetera, to get onto them. Because, of course, not too many people actually have phone lines anymore. And not too many people are running BBSs off of phone lines, unless you go to a VCF. So he did kind of a mini review of Between Twilight Terminal, which is done by Roger Taylor, and then Twilight Terminal was done by John Kowalski, aka Sockmaster, and then Netmate, which is by Roger Taylor. Now, Netmate's a much more recent one, and it's a bit more optimized for speeds. He does things a bit differently. Sockmaster was trying to go for as much accuracy with colors and character sets and stuff, and actually makes an 80 by 30 screen, if I remember correctly. And it used triple screen flipping with, pixels offset a single pixel location to get the shading just right type thing. Now, it does produce a little bit of flicker, which is a lot more noticeable, I've noticed, on LED-based TVs nowadays than it was on the Series, because you had phosphor fading, so it would kind of smooth it out a lot. Whereas Roger actually basically did things to fit within a much narrower font, so he doesn't have to do as much screen flipping to get it to work. So it can be a lot faster. And there's pluses and minuses to both. Just for those of you that don't have the video, if you're listening to this in audio, I'll just read Michael's little comments before I show the actual videos. And he says, I've created a couple of videos connecting the CoCo 3 to Captain Quarters 2 BBS using Netmate and Twilight Terminal using the Tandy's RS-232 pack and TCP Sear as a comparison between the two. Netmate Pro is very colorful, speeds up to 115/200, can be used with real modem, RS-232 pack, wireless eye modem, and the Mister. Full ANSI graphics, dialing directories are supported that actually support long URLs. Some people have hit problems where if you're trying to punch in like a long URL to telnet to a BBS, the old terminal programs were set up for long distance phone numbers of 10 digits and they just can't fit. Easily configurable without the need to memorize AT commands. Netmate is continuously being updated, fixing bugs and active features, which actually Ron had just mentioned. Roger just did a recent update. He's actually done updates in calendar 2 on 2024. Netmate's cons, he said the font is difficult to read at times because I think it's only a 4 pixel wide per character. The X and N almost look identical. Press Alt-N to continue. If you press Alt-X and get disconnected. Twilight Term, on the other hand, he said, very clear, easy-to-use font, which I agree with. Full ANSI graphics, speeds up to 19.2. Cons, the graphics are a bit fuzzy because of the way the shading and the triple screen flippings work. Like I said, if you actually have a CRT-based model, like a CM8 or a Magnavox 8515, it does look better on those than it will on a monitored, switcheroo on a HDMI TV or something. Does not have the ability to store long URLs for the phone book feature. It was set up for 10-digit long distance numbers. And it was also written 20 years ago, is no longer being updated. And I think, I don't remember if John said he'd lost the source code for Twilight Terminal, because that'd be a cool one to actually get, somebody to, modernize it a bit to handle them new telnet-based BBSs. So anyway, since both videos are fairly short, I thought I'd play them for those of you who've not seen ANSI graphics on a CoCo, which is, displaying more colors and stuff than a CoCo normally can display. And also just kind of get you feel of what an ANSI BBS is like now in the 21st century without phone lines, etc. They're fairly short. They're a couple minutes each. So I'll play the Twilight Terminal 1. So this is using SOC Masters. And you will see the flickering here exaggerated from what you would see in a CRT, just so you're aware.
The ask is to compare SOC Master's Twilight term with Roger Taylor's NetMate. We've already done one video with Roger Taylor's NetMate connecting to Captain's Quarters. This one will do the same test with Captain's Quarters using Twilight term. All right, using Twilight term, we have a couple of differences. Twilight term can only operate at a speed of 19.2, so we had to change the TCP serve on the PC to connect at that speed. Also, the phone book in Twilight term isn't long enough to accept the long names of the telnet sites with their port addresses, so we'll have to type it in. And on this Twilight term, I don't know how to turn the echo on, so we'll have to type blindly. Oh, good. And here we are back to Captain's Quarters.
And the kind of flickering color you're seeing on certain characters, that is the page flipping with the offset pixels, but it is a lot better on a CRT.
Right.
All right. Well, I seem to like the font better, but the colors I don't think are as nice as that they are in NetMate. That's my personal opinion. We'll go ahead and go to the games, and we'll play the blackjack again.
Those drawing the cards are using the IBM's font, which has, the built-in, card suits and the little line outlines and stuff are just part of the ANSI character set.
All right. Great.
Oh, right.
The colors seem very fuzzy to me. I'm looking at them, they're definitely fuzzy.
And that's because of the pixel offset screen flipping thing that
Right.
John did.
Will anyone ever make an LCD monitor that has a proper CRT emulation mode where it fuzzes?
All right.
Yeah, because I mean, the reason is the LEDs turn on and off so fast that you're catching it, doing the redraw or flipping the screens where the pixels are slightly offset. Whereas on the CRT, it fades from phosphor, so it kind of fills it in for you.
And this is true of.
Yeah, I would be exceptionally leery of any type of LCD panel or LED panel having CRT emulation. All I gotta say is soap opera mode.
Well, I mean, the problem is every CRT-based video game looks bad now. Someone's got to think of some way to display these on an LCD. There's got to be a way to do it. It's not mathematically impossible.
Yeah, you'd figure like emulating vector beam games and stuff like that. Like they do have to take into account, phosphor decay when you're drawing the vector beam going across. And they've tried to do that when you're, if you time it right, you'll get a slightly, darker version of a line. So they should be able to do something to simulate it a little bit closer, but maybe like the fact that switching between screens here with offset pixels, that makes it complicated because, you have to kind of anti-alias them together at the same time you're trying to emulate phosphor decay.
I think it's also going to be more than just phosphor decay time, because I've watched the slow-mo guy's video on phosphor, and the decay is such that the decay's done in not more than a scan line and a half. Like it's black after about a scan line, pretty much a scan line and a half, maybe a little bit longer with a very, very very light thing, about 7 or 8 scan lines. But what we've got in the CRT, aside from phosphor fade, what you got in the CRT also, especially when you're dealing with a 60 hertz display, is you've got the CRT is expecting things to be interlaced. So it has almost an automatic comb filter applied. And the CRT also has a dot mask, a shadow mask, either a shadow mask or a shadow grill. And that might be doing something for it as well.
Right. But I mean, keep in mind on an Atari 2600, there's only one dot illuminated. And that's all the CPU knows about is the one dot. And they managed to do pretty good.
And that's and it's even questionable at that, because I don't even know that the CPU knows about a dot. It's like, what is this dot of which you speak? I'm doing this.
Well, no, it wrote a dot. It may not know about it.
Yeah.
But it wrote it and it moved on. But anyway, that's beside the point. I think they could do, LCDs could do better than they are right
I
now.
think I believe you're correct. I just think that the problem is a bit more complex than we give it credit for.
Right, right. Or they would have done so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Twilight Terminal from 1997 by Sockmaster, which I remember using back in the day. I was just in awe when he did this. Well, like most of the stuff he did back in the 90s, it just blew our minds.
I want Twilight for cocoio. That would be cool.
And then here's Netmate, Roger Taylor, still actively developed. So this one, as I mentioned before, has actually had updates this year in 2024 already. And I know it's Ron's favorite. The text doesn't look quite as good, though, as he's mentioned. The color looks a bit better. It's not doing all these weird offset pixel tricks while flipping between screens. Because basically, Twilight Terminal is running 3 640 by 225 screens with palettes and offsetting the pixels between the three to try to fill them in so that it looks smooth. And that's where the phosphor fade or whatever else is causing those effects to smooth out works. Whereas I believe Roger's doing a 320 screen here, which is why his characters are only 4 pixels wide, but it allows him to use pure 16 colors without having to do all these weird tricks. So it won't flicker and do all these weird, shading things that you can see on the previous video at the expense of the text not being quite as clear or as defined.
Today we're going to connect to a BBS using Telnet, using the Radio Shack's RS-232 pack, which is connected to a machine PC with a USB to serial port adapter. We got a tester there of the 232 port. And all right, we'll begin. We'll be using Roger Taylor's Netmate for this. I'll be connecting to Captain's Quarter to BBS.
But you notice there's no flickering or anything because he's actually using a 16 color mode versus 3 screens with 4 colors each.
And we got a captain's log. Last people who called. All right, got your messages.
Well, while we're showing this, how many people here on the panel actually, besides Ron, I guess, actively use the CoCo to get onto NCBBS's via Telnet?
BBS is geared for Amiga and
I've never tried it myself.
Retro Max.
Alan, you said you do?
Yeah. Forums here.
Do you have a preference between the two as far as displays?
We can see,
not really. I use both. I mean, it kind of also depends on the board that you're going to and what mode and graphics that it has.
Okay. All right, you can go to.
I mean, they both work fine.
Games is somewhere. There's games.
Okay, so given the fact that the displays, they're a fairly bit different in implementation, but both are fairly, quite readable and support the full ANSI graphic standard. Netmate might be a bit better just for having the auto dialer and stuff handling URLs.
$100. Well, probably more like.
Well, I mean, you can type in your own AT commands.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
AT, DT, and whatever dot net or whatever.
Jim Brain's TCP serial. And I've got some Lantronics boards as well. So, it all.
Quick question.
Yeah.
All right. This is kind of a trolley type of a question. If you type in like ATDT for a URL or something like that, of course, that implies touch tone, which can make sense. But what about ATDP? Would we wind up with Morse code?
Oh,
That's for the ham radio people. That's how they do their toning. Yeah.
I can see where if you had a text-heavy site, you would prefer Twiterm, and if you have a graphics-heavy site, this is better.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
I was going to ask for the people that I've actually used it, Ron and Alan in particular here. Like I know Twilight Terminal is actually using a custom font on a 225 high screen, so it gives you an 80 by 30, which is a pretty decent size. Does NetMate give you that much vertical room, or is it more like an 80 by 25 or 80 by 28? Do you know?
It's 80 by 25.
80 by 25? Okay, so he's kind of doing a more strict IBM PC ANSI.
It looks like a PC. That's the idea.
Right.
Just the font's a little squished vertically because of the resolution. But you know, the X and the M thing that was mentioned in one of them, I don't know, maybe I'm just used to, from back in the day, looking at so much stuff on crummy old TVs that were handed down anyway. I don't really notice too much of a problem. I mean, you can see it up in the upper left corner, NetMate, where it looks like it could be an X, but your brain mostly fills it in, I think.
Right.
Well, I'm also noticing like you can see like the vertical, like in the R for Roger, like the left-hand side is thicker than the right. I think that's just because he's using a modern TV and it's trying to scale it.
This is a
like this would
camera
look
on the
better, I
screen,
think,
so-
on a CRT once again. And I was wondering, Alan, have you tried it with a CRT to see if it makes smooths out the N and the X type thing?
Years. I mean, I've got my CRT here on the floor. I could set it back up at some point, but
Or Ron, have you tried it on both a modern
I don't
TV
use
and a
Twilight Term anymore because it doesn't have all the codes for ASCII, you know, as most, but it's not full. And
not
NetMate has it all. And so I just use NetMate. I have an older version that he gave me when I was testing it back years ago. And that works for me. And then when he came out with this 0.54p, it works the same. So I don't know really any difference. I don't use the program I use to go online with is called STerm 2.0, and that runs on the PC and it handles the COM
internet
port.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah, and I dial through that program by typing in the address and the port number, and it.
Oh, so you're not actually typing in ATDT whatever
I don't
.com.
have
okay.
to, but I can now. There's also the option with that program I use to type it in on the screen, and it would go. You know, I have to put telnet colon the address and then colon 23, and it would go.
Okay. And then my last question for you. Oh, sorry, again.
It also does other things. This STerm does ping and who is and all these other things that you can play with, you know, right through the CoCo, and you can see pings on websites and stuff, and it's interesting. I have that program on my file section. If you wanted to, if you didn't have the, I guess you have to. What I use is the RS-232 pack on a multi-pack, and the 24 pin to USB into the PC. So, and it goes to COM4 and it works.
Okay. Last question for both of you, if you have experience with it. I know he mentions that Twilight Terminal maxes out at 19.2 because that's what the R32 pack basically maxed at. Though I do know you can modify it to run at 115.2, or maybe you can use a Mega Mini MPI. I don't know if he's supporting, Roger's supporting that in his. Is there much of a difference, like with the CoCo having to display all these graphics and stuff here? Is there much of a difference in speed between 19.2 and 115?
I don't think the 115 is actually 115. It just shows it, but I think it uses less.
Yeah, I think it comes in at 57.6 usually.
Yeah.
And
Or 30,
like, does the display
34.
keep up to the point where it actually runs a lot faster on NetMate versus Twilight Terminal then?
No.
No, it's not for a lot of stuff. Now, in ANSI heavy things, yes, it will fill in the screen faster with NetMate. But if you're doing the more text things, like I do a lot of MUD stuff, All right, so there's not a lot of ANSI graphics going on. It's straight text. And the straight text parts are, those run at basically the same speeds. But when you get a lot of ANSI graphics coming in, each character you see on the screen can be a string of like 10 actual transmitted bytes.
Yeah, actually, you have your escape code, set foreground color, your actual color values, and all that kind of stuff. So
The higher speeds in NetMate soak that up better, and you get the images coming in on the ANSI side a bit quicker. You don't need as much patience.
Well, I used to use Ultimate Term, and that had very nothing. You know, it would.
well,
be
it supported
garbage.
the VT52, VT100 protocols and ANSI as far as color selections and stuff like that, but it didn't. It used the hardware text in the gimme, so it doesn't have any of the ANSI extended character set.
Right.
Yeah. So you'd get like weird,
So this is
European
like really
Ps or
nice.
something. Yeah, no, I used that for a long time. I mean, I was a fellow Canuck here in Calgary that, and he
Yeah,
kept
with-
updating that back in the day too, because I had
Yeah,
2.8, 3.0,
right.
4.0.
That's exactly what I was going to just say. And before that, what, Greggy Term?
Yep, Greg Miller,
Coco
and then
Chew.
before that, Mikey Term by Mike Ward, and
Yep, and talk about a mixed up screen with the blocks of on green, black on green with lowercase was black,
yeah. No, the Cocos had a pretty strong terminal program thing extending all the way back to like 81, 82. I think the first ones I remember seeing.
And then I also used Deskmate, their terminal. And
That one I
had-
never did use. I
Yeah,
always
I
used.
used that.
By the time Decimate 3 came out, I was already running Greggy Term with 80 columns. So
Right.
VIP term.
Yep, that's another one. Well, that gave you actual up
or
upper
Color
lower
Com
case.
E, or there's a ton
Yeah.
of them back in the day.
Have you ever been online with the Color Compact on the MC10?
Color Compact was the second terminal program I ever used on the Coco. The first was one in Rainbow that actually didn't even keep up with the screen because it was written partly in BASIC.
Yeah.
So it draw a little asterisk every time it received 32 characters, and you do have to wait for the asterisk to stop appearing and go, "Oh, it must be done." Then you hit a key to render the screen. That's
Oh,
how I first
geez.
logged in. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Color Compact, it was in real time. It just seemed like a miracle to me at the time.
But did anybody go online with the MC10?
Oh, Micro Color Compact you're talking about.
Yeah,
I didn't have one back then.
that was my first computer, so certainly I used every portion of it that I could, and that would include hooking a modem to it and trying it.
I mean, honestly, the MC10 should be able to handle 1200 baud better than the Coco 1 and 2 did, because it's actually got a timer. We can use to time the bits a bit better.
Right.
A programmable timer built in 6803. So
Somewhere on my Ron's Garage, there's a little session I did with the MC10, with the blocky
problem is
letters.
typing, and as much as the chiclet keyboard on a Coco 1 was usable, but once I got to the full size keys, I never looked back. So
yeah,
the MC
I just find it interesting because I lived on BBSs from about 83, actually late 82. I started running my own in February of 83, and I stopped it around 89 or something. At the end, it was even multi-line. It's the multi-user. But I mean, with FidoNet and all the Coco and OS9 echoes and stuff, we could be blasting stuff back and forth. It was kind of like a mini internet before the internet got popular.
Yeah, the thing about FidoNet that was, though, that you'd write to somebody and they have to wait for it to come back.
Yeah, within a day.
Yeah.
I had to wander around the net. Yeah. That's how they work.
It's like, making a phone call and not being able to talk to them until they call you back. It's just weird.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Usenet, StigNet, all that stuff was based on passing things around them.
Well,
around the
even
net.
CompuServe and Delphi. I mean, you logged into a form, you left a message, and then you came back the next day to see what responses you got, because somebody might be in Europe and respond at 3 a.m. or.
Yeah, but sometimes your friends would be right there. And you could also call them and say, "I'm going on. You're going to go on." You could get real-time
Right.
answers.
See, when you had a multi-line BBS like I did, you could literally talk to each other live on the BBS,
Yeah.
and the sysop could join in too. So I mean, you could,
Right.
but
Sure.
And then you've
that
locked
seemed-
all of your. Then you've locked all of your customers out while you guys all talk.
Yeah. Well, I mostly did my stuff in the evening and night, overnight.
yeah, I was back in the days when if you went after midnight, it was like 60% off the regular
Yeah.
daytime price for long distance and stuff. Yeah. Young kids these days don't understand any of that
No,
stuff.
they don't.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. He actually did a comparison video because I haven't played around with NetMate because I haven't done any BBSing since Twilight Term was new. So it was really interesting for me to see the differences between the two.
When Michael first came on, I told him, he had the screen was stretched, and I told him, if we want to compare it to other machines, like you had asked me on Discord, you said, you'd like to see, So I'm the one that suggested to him to make the two videos up, and he made one, but it was stretched, and I said,
like that game we saw earlier, because the old versions of MAME didn't do the ratio properly.
And so people should know that when you set up your CoCo and it's on a modern screen, you need to go into the screen of the monitor and the TV and make it 640 by 480, and then it goes from there.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
thanks for forwarding that on to him. I didn't realize you'd done that, so thank you. That was exactly what I wanted to see.
Yep.
Okay, onwards we go. So Alan Huffman has been a little bit busy this week as well. So he did part 2, first of all, of his blog for writing a port of Rick Adams' Lights Out, which he's planning on porting to plain old color basic. So it's currently a CoCo 3 only basic game. And as we mentioned last week, it's kind of like the old Merlin game handheld. If you remember, the big thing looked like a red brick cell phone in the late 70s, early 80s. And basically you punch in the one of the squares and it shuts all the surrounding squares off or on, inverting whatever they are now. And your goal is to try to fill it in. So he did his part 2 blog here going in, where he starts to actually get some coding done here and figures out how he's going to set up his arrays, and going into consideration that regular color basic and extended basic for that matter, all arrays start at 0. So I didn't know this back when I was young, so I was wasting memory, dimming a sub 10 when I wanted 10 numbers, and I only needed to do 9. As long as I did 0 to 9, it would have saved me some memory. So he's got the actual coding starting here, and he's actually starting to work on the actual logic of the game by the end of the article, but there's more to come. Next up, he mentioned that he'd finally, after all these years, figured out the color scheme that BASIC uses, because BASIC in the manuals even mentions this. The numbers 0 through 8 are black through orange, basically. But it always mentions that you can use, 1 through 8 on your high-res screens, but they also are only 4 or 2 colors. And that always just didn't make sense to him. And he actually kind of figured out why it works now. And he's got a nice little chart I'll show you here. So this is basically your screen set is what's controlling, like what screen color set you're using. So you got the green-based ones, both on a 4-color or on a 2-color, which would be black and green here, or white and black. And then your color set 1, which actually goes to the second set. And basically the numbers are set up in such a way that you can actually pick the same numbers. So if you're switching between modes and stuff here, you don't have to change like a 8 to a 4 or something like that. It'll actually just kind of automatically work with the color you would expect if you're understanding the color sets correctly. So it is a big long thing going through the basic manual and how it didn't quite explain things all that clearly, and the nice little graphic diagrams like this to explain how it works. It's actually a fairly lengthy article, but it explains it quite nicely. And for those of you doing basic programming and working, switching between screen modes or color sets type thing, it might save you a bit of time on some programming here where you don't have to do all these translations. You can just think as if it was a low-res screen with your standard CLS 0 through 9 color set. Now this one's kind of a follow-up to CoCoTown, because CoCoTown did this aspect ratio showdown as shown in the screenshot here. But basically, he found out that MAME has been kind of widening the screen even when you're actively playing it, about 11% or 12% or something like that. Whereas on a real CRT TV, it's actually a bit taller, not quite as perfectly square. And what Alan is requesting here, and this is requesting of the general audience, we'll put it out to the CoCoNation here, is he wants to see some video on real CRT monitors to compare. Because obviously that's what CoCoTown himself did on the one he has, but he also wants to compare it, is there any difference between a CoCo 1, 2, or a 3? Is there any difference between composite and RGB if you're running a, say, a 8 or an 8 Magnavox 8515 or a Sony I can't remember the model number, NEC Multisync 2 or whatever. He's wondering, is the ratios different between the different technologies, the monitors on the CoCo 3, in addition to the fact that, it's a bit different between MAME and emulation wise versus the actual real CoCos. So if you guys go check out the show notes on Discord, you can get the link to this specific story on Sabitha Software's site, which is Alan's site. Find this blog entry, and if you can send him some links to some videos or screenshots of these different ones, and mention exactly what you're taking these shots from. Is it a CoCo 1, 2, or 3? Is it a RGB monitor versus a composite versus a TV? Is it a CRT or a modern one with conversion boxes or cables or whatever else? Just so we can kind of get a full flavor as to what exactly is the differences between them all. Because as he mentioned, he hasn't hooked his real CoCo up in years and years, and he thought MAME was perfectly okay the way it was. And as CoCoTown discovered when he was doing it on a real CoCo 2 versus MAME, no, it's not. So if you can help out Alan on kind of getting a broad range of these different types of display technologies versus the different CoCos, and how they actually react to, how they actually display, then that would kind of help him get an idea of how different they are. And if there's further differences.
Some good monitors will do the 640 by 480 and let you adjust the vertical and horizontal, which makes it really nice. Because then if you run something that has circles, they should be circles,
right?
And not ovals or.
Well, that's what Kieran discovered, because on the PAL, because of the way they have to redo their video because they have more vertical lines, their circles came out perfect, and ours never did. You always had to adjust them slightly to get a perfect circle.
Yeah, and to have a cheap monitor that doesn't allow you to adjust it at all, it makes you a little. You don't really want to use that monitor if it's not quite the right ratio,
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I was kind of interesting to see how far MAME was off. I was quite surprised by that too, especially the CoCo 1 and 2, which never had RGB, so you didn't have to worry about that kind of thing. Like you can see here, the side by side, it's a fair bit of a difference. Also, Brian Walsh, unrelated in the chat, is hey guys, are anybody going to VCF SoCal? The only person I know that is planning on it so far is Wayne Campbell, and I don't know if he's actually in the chat at the moment. I know he was earlier. So Brian, you may want to reach out to him in the chat there. Okay, next up after that, Tim Linder did a little special on PIA mirroring. Now, you hardware guys can probably explain this better than me, but if I understand correctly, if something's not fully address decoded, it will ghost over into other blocks of addresses with a certain bits set or not reset. And basically, the CoCo 1 and 2 used to mirror the PIAs, I think 4 times or something ridiculous. Is that right? Rick or any of you hardware guys?
Kind of sounds right. Remember the details, but yes.
But the example would be like if you wrote to FF20, you could also write to FF24 and it would do the write to the actual FF20 and FF28 and FF2C and FF30 and FF34, etc.
Well, I mean, if you have a 16-byte space and you only need one of them, then yeah, you'll just let it mirror and you won't exceed your space, but you're wasting.
Well,
something.
What controls that? The VDG or something else?
Well, no, how much you decode your thing. So
the wiring of the address decoding logic that you put into the motherboard.
Exactly. You can do the bare minimum or you can do more. And Tandy tended to go with the bare minimum, but in the CoCo 3,
because it's cheaper.
Yeah,
and actually, to be honest, some third-party hardware manufacturers, CoCo did the same thing. They let stuff ghost.
Yeah,
or mirror. Sorry.
That was pretty common back then. Like the VIAs, the PIAs on the Atari 8-bit, the 6522 is mirrored 16 times because it has a whole 256.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We don't care, so we aren't even going to figure it out. We're just going to let them all.
Because
and as Tim mentions here, like the PIAs for the CoCo 1 and 2 ghosted for 32 bytes, and they're only 4 bytes each. They ghost 16 times. 4 bytes are ghosted basically 16 times from FF20 to FF3F. The CoCo 3, on the other hand, actually restricted that to 16 bytes, so it only ghosted 8 times.
So when you say mirror, it's not flipping it, right? Like a mirror does. It's just repeating it.
Well, you see the same thing everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Like a mirror.
Everywhere you read or write, it'll actually go to the real address. Like the problem is if like in the multi-pack in particular, it was terrible having these poorly address decoded things because it would take a whole whop of memory And then if you try to put another card in with that used, even if it was properly decoded, but it would be in one of the ghost addresses. When you start writing to this card, it might ghost over and affect the other card.
Right. So here you are in the fun house. Yeah.
You had no idea what the hell was going to happen. The computer might lock up because all of a sudden it's trying to respond to 3 things at once because you had 3 packs that are all ghosting over the same addresses. And even though they might be technically at their own individual one. I remember Bill and I, we always made sure we modified hardware we received to put into our multi-pack for the work stuff, specifically to fully address decode it so that it didn't wander outside of its range and start affecting everything else, because it caused all kinds of issues. But it was mainly for cost.
Memory?
What's that?
Doesn't it take memory?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, the 6809 is a memory mapped IO space. It's not, driven by ins and outs on port numbers, etc. So yeah, I mean, if you had a hardware card that only needed 4 bytes to actually operate, but you didn't bother fully address decoding and it actually takes 16, kind of hogs it to itself, that restricts how much stuff and what type of things you can plug into the CoCo. So yeah, you're right. And that's why Bill and I hated the things that were not fully address decoded.
Right.
And that's why the multi-pack needed an upgrade, because one of the ghosts of the multi-pack collided with something
CoCo
that they
3.
added in the
Exactly.
Well, how come
Tandy
it
did it
never
to
showed
themselves.
up? How come it never showed up in the 30 years I had multi-packs with CoCo 3? And
It would depend on what hardware cards you had in there and whether they were fully address decoded partly.
You're like,
like some manufacturers did fully address decode them, like they did it properly, like the Eliminator by Frank Hogg, because it actually did use 16 bytes. It didn't want to ghost 16 bytes all over the place for a second 16. It actually did everything properly. I think the distos did too, if I remember.
This is where mirror is a good description. If you're looking at the right thing, it worked. If you looked off to the side, it might explode because of all the mirrors. So it could work, but it also could go way wrong.
It really depended on the mix of hardware you had installed in your multi-pack.
Tandy considered it a big enough problem to put effort into fixing it.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I was surprised in 2017 or whenever it was that I found out that you had to upgrade it, because it never came across my desk or my computer. That it was
how many hard drive interfaces, floppy interfaces, sound cards, etc. did you run in your multi-pack, Ron?
Right.
I use this speech and sound pack, and I used the, but I generally use that on the 2, but it didn't matter. They worked. I used a
well, like I said, it depends. Like if something was
controller.
ghost or something was mirroring in say a 16 byte block, and you had a second piece of hardware that's within that 16 bytes of mirroring, then you would start having problems. But other ones might be completely separate. You might have something at FF40, something at FF50 that never touch each other, even though they're mirroring and wasting space. They're actually separated enough it would not cause a problem. It really depends on what hardware you had.
Specifically, Tandy software was aligned to their scheme, so you wouldn't have a problem running any kind of Tandy software.
Okay.
They have gotten out of each other's mirror views, and
I thought it was a scam or something, because I just couldn't. It didn't affect me at all, ever.
No,
it did affect us at work. Like when we put in a COM4 board, which is a 4-port RS-232 on one card, takes a full 16 bytes of address space. There was either a hard drive controller, one of the old ones we had, or it might have been a floppy controller, or maybe because we had a disto originally before we switched to the Eliminator that wasn't fully address decoded, and they did conflict. Like you would try to run RS-232 port 1 or 2 and it would work fine. 3 and 4 was a crapshoot. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it would lock up, sometimes it'd give me bad data. And we couldn't figure out for the longest time what the heck was going on, because like at home, we never saw any difference with our multi-packs being upgraded or not. Then we talked to Kevin Darling and a few others, and they said, no, that's exactly what's happening. You've got these 2 cards arguing over the same spot, because this one card is duplicating itself 4 times over in adjacent memory addresses, while this other card that's properly done is trying to use 4 of those for itself. And now they're just arguing with each other. So it depended on what hardware you had in there. Some hardware was completely separate from each other, never touch each other. It would work in an old multi-pack just fine.
Now, does the multi-pack, unless it's switched back to where it was, will it work with CoCo 2 or 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
The CoCo 2 will always work with
an upgraded.
They just got rid of some of the ghosts.
Yeah. But the CoCo 2 is looking for the original, not the ghost, so it always works.
Okay. What about 1?
Well, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, CoCo 1 and 2, as far as that's concerned, are identical pretty well. Anyway, what he also did here, just to kind of prove what the different space, he actually made a little video, and I'm not going to bother playing it here, unless you guys want to see it or something. How long is it? That's only 2 minutes. What the hell? I'll let Tim explain it.
Okay, we're going to run through the test program.
One of the few times
Okay,
AJ
the first
wasn't
thing we're
handy.
going to do is run the sound test through the deck. It starts out at FF20. And go to a higher, let's see, FF24, 28, 2C, 30. Nothing. And no sound for the rest of the threes.
Whereas on a CoCo 1 or 2, it would have actually made sounds on all of those
The
extra
1-bit
ones.
sound source,
Okay.
which is connected to port B. Here it is at FF20, 24, 28, 2C, and 30. Nothing. Nothing for the threes. And the VDG test just twiddles the alpha graphics bit in PIA 2B7. So you can see that it picks it up there. But of course in this CoCo 3 that's being done by the gimme. So if we go to FF24 mirror, oops, nothing. Again, back to FF20. We see the gimme doing its thing, but it doesn't even bother to do any of the other mirror locations. So 2.4, 2.8, 2C, 3.0, 3.4, 3.8, and 3C. So you can see PIA 2 has a much smaller mirror on the CoCo 3 than the CoCo 1 and 2.
So anyway, it was rather interesting. I did not realize, let me pause that. I did not realize that the VDG, which had ghosted on the original CoCo 1 and 2, I figured they would have just done the same thing. I'd never really tried it, but actually it looks like on the gimme they fixed it. So the VDG only works at FF24. It doesn't ghost anywhere. Whereas, you know, the sound, etc., does ghost. So that was kind of interesting. I did not realize that before. I don't know how many of you guys knew about it, but I was definitely in the dark in that one.
So there is no VDG in the CoCo 3. It's the gimme.
Yeah, the gimme's emulating a VDG, but they decided to take out all the ghosting emulation.
Okay, so it's actually better then.
Yes, it's fully decoded, quote unquote.
Yes.
Never knew that.
I didn't either, actually. Okay, next up, and we're looking for a video for this upcoming. So TJ Chris, who has done a lot of really cool stuff with Tier City, you know, Model 2s, 12, 16s. He's done some stuff with the network controllers with the CoCos. He's done some stuff on his CoCo 3 and CoCo 2s, including booting Nitrous 9 off a cassette. But he's actually got the, for those of you familiar with the network controllers, the Network 2, which has been demonstrated both on his channel and on Vintage Geek that we've covered before, was a place where you could actually have a CoCo with a disk drive as a host, and this was meant for classrooms. And it would have 15 different cassette cables going to your various clients, plugged in the cassette ports, and you could actually download software to all the clients from the host CoCo or grab a program back one at a time based on a switch. And it was a way to share programs between students in a classroom or assign programming assignments, and then you can grab them back as a student comes up and says, okay, my terminal number 5 here is ready to go. You can grab the assignment. And the Network 3 came out a little bit later, and this switched everything over from cassette-based to serial port-based. And this is before the RS-232 pack existed at Radio Shack, so it was meant for the Bitbanger as well. Now, this was advertised and mentioned in multiple places by Tandy, but it never came out. It came out for, you know, the Tier City black and white line, but there never was a CoCo one, even though some cables were made for it and advertised. And basically what Christopher's been doing here is he's been kind of going through and figuring out how the protocols and stuff work for the serial port. And now he's actually got it running on the CoCo, very simply at this point in a 300 baud only. But he's actually getting it to talk to other machines here via the Network 3 controller, not the Network 2, and through the serial port, not the cassette. Now he's planning on doing a YouTube video in the coming days to kind of show the full bits of it, and I will go through it again when we get to that point. But it's really cool that he's got that running. So for the first time, we could actually use a network 3 to interlink, CoCos and Model 1, 3s, and whatever else together on the same network.
You said that the Model 3 wasn't out. And then how does he have one?
Sorry, I didn't think I said that. I was talking about the network 3 controller.
The network 3 controller. You said it was never.
Well, no, he said that the
CoCo
CoCo didn't
version
have a serial port at the time when the network 3 controller with the serial port came out. The CoCo didn't have a serial.
Yeah, I didn't have an Ultra 2-pack. Now it looks like from the ads, it looks like they were planning on using the bit banger, which would have worked, but they just never got the software done for it. So it never really hooked up. They changed the ads later on, so Network 3 was basically
Is that
just
maybe what
modeled.
deload was supposed to be for? Was for the Network 3?
Well, deload was actually in existence way before that.
Oh.
Because that was back on Color Basic or Extended Basic in 81, so a year or two before the Network 3 came out.
But yeah, I think they used that. Like, didn't the Network 2, weren't you supposed to do a deload on your client?
No, that just used C-load and C-load M and C-save and C-save.
Oh, that used C-load. Okay.
Yeah, because it was all cassette based.
Yeah, the
but deload is serial based, so that would make sense. Deload.
But deload was a Microsoft protocol that actually worked on more machines than just the CoCo phone. I remember.
What is the device there with the LCD screen?
What?
It's a scope.
That's an oscilloscope.
Oh, okay.
So where is this number 3?
On top of the model, was that 12?
Yeah, the open box on top.
There. Oh, okay, because it isn't apparent as to which one it was.
I can zoom in here.
Yeah, so there's the network controller.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Network 3.
It doesn't look anything like the previous 2.
No, well, it totally switched. It went to serial based instead of cassette based.
So they could actually control it from the host computer.
Oh, so that backboard is a whole whack ton of serial port connectors on the back. And so if you buy this thing without cables, you've been ripped off.
Yeah. Now, I think if I remember in the comments here, you actually found one of the ads that mentioned the CoCo's cable for the bit banger. Yeah, right here.
Of course. Yeah, and these are going to be like 20 foot long. And how much does that cost?
Yeah. But did you guys ever see Radio Shack cells? Did this actually make it to be a real part, or was this just a pre-release that never got released? Because it's basically a 4-bit right to a 25 from Radio Shack for the CoCo.
1494. And 1495.
I don't remember ever seeing these, but honestly, I wouldn't have known when I was looking at this early on, 81 or 82.
Rick off looking it up.
Well, I'm going to eventually because it has part numbers. So.
You see it in the 1983 Radio Shack catalog right here. If you can see my screen at all, I don't know if you can or not.
Well, he did publish pictures of the catalogs, but he thinks that they were never released. They were expected to be out September of 82 or something, and they never got released because they never got the driver software for it for the CoCo done.
So they were reserved a part number, but never used.
It looks like the 3 and 4 were out at the same time. Or the 2 and 3 were out at the same time.
Network 2 and Network 3, you mean?
Yep. Despite the name, the Network 3 controller didn't replace the earlier Network 2 controller. They appeared together along with the later Network 4 and Radio Shack catalogs until 1987.
What did the outside cover look like? Was it white or black?
Somebody focus me and you'll see it. It's black.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing and let it so you can share.
All right,
yeah.
We get there.
So yeah, I've got it on my camera.
There it is.
Yep, there it is.
So you typically only found those in schools, so it was sold through the computer centers, not any store.
Yeah, but they didn't have an education number. They had a regular Tandy SKU on that.
Yep.
So I'm confused.
Yeah, well, the models 3, 4, all the computers still had the standard SKUs.
Well, yeah, but the cables had like regular Tandy SKUs, not Tandy Edu. So anyway, confusing. What else is new?
Anyway, the promotional materials, and he's actually got scans of them up on his post there. If you go check it out on Facebook, and it actually shows the ads saying that this will be coming out for the CoCos, where the CoCo can host and become a client. Or sorry, the CoCo can be a client and a Model 3 or whatever would be the host. And as far as he's been able to tell, and as far as from talking to some of the other Tandy people in the Tier City Discord, they don't remember the CoCo software ever being ready for it, so it never actually happened. It was kind of a promise in the future type thing.
Ah, why am I still sitting here?
Is laying on the floor is uncomfortable? I don't know. Mhm. Sorry, this is part of the research he's been doing here, but basically he's got the protocol working now, so it can talk to them all three. He's actually got hex dumps. You can see the messages going back and forth if you take a look at this post. And he's going to be doing a full, yeah, here's the other one here. There's the actual price for the cable. 5-foot color computer to network 3 cable, $20. Which is, you know, I don't even know if the cable came out because they never got the software done to use it, so. Anyway, he's planning on doing a follow-up video, which I definitely will be covering because I'm kind of interested in this myself, especially after hearing like the CoCo 3 and the later CoCo 2s cannot run on the Network 2 controller because of the signal differences. They don't actually function properly, so you can't use a CoCo 3 on a Network 2 controller. This would bypass that because as far as I know, the RS-232 has not changed enough to cause issues between them. So once he gets the software running.
RS-232 also has a very wide latitude for voltages.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas the cassette, you had, you know, things like, you know, volume level could screw it up.
Right. The cassette cable could be wrong. Yeah.
And I think, Rick,
3
you
foot
guys
cable.
were figuring out what the difference was between the CoCo 2s, it's like ones with the salt, ones without type thing that made a huge difference in why it doesn't work, except on a CoCo 1, the Network 2.
Yeah, it was a whole current versus volume kind of thing. I don't remember the details, but yeah, it's a mess. So
I remember both Chris and Vintage Geek got it working with CoCo 1s or TDPs only. They never got it working with a CoCo 2, and it was due to the way the cassettes changed.
I mean, if you think trying to make a long cassette cable, like a 20-foot cassette cable, good luck. You can't get a 3-foot cassette cable to work well. You know?
Yeah. Anyways, it's pretty cool because he's going through the history of what was planned and what did not happen, and now he's, you know, 40 years later getting it working, which is awesome.
So is there a program that you have to run in the CoCo before you can accept signals?
I'll have to wait till his video comes up, but it looks like he had to write his own drivers that Tandy never got done, so that, yeah, you will have to load a program for it to work. Or maybe burn a new ROM or something.
Term in there or something.
Well, it would be using a protocol totally different than that, I'm guessing.
Right. The whole idea is the client CoCos don't have anything on them. They just work. So interesting to see how he makes that work.
Yeah, because to be honest, I've never used the Network 3 on a Model 1 or 3, so I don't even know what it's supposed to look like or what it's trying to do. So I don't know enough to even intelligently answer that question. Chris will know, though, because he's been fiddling with it quite a bit.
He's done it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we got a couple Dragon stories. So Julian Brown posted some updates to his updated Dragon motherboard replacement, where he's been working on an issue with line pulses, which is way over my head. I will just read his little text description. I'll play the little short clip he's got of his oscilloscope running on it for the audio listeners here. So it says, I think I found the root of the line pulse issue. The pulses are assembled out of the upper 4 bits of an 8-bit counter triggered by V clock. It effectively counts from 0 to 227, then resets. The counter is a single chip, so the count works as intended. The reset appears to propagate cleanly, but when those bits are combined through OR gates, the pattern is slightly wobbly. The video captures the wobble nicely. The cause is still to be found, but I can isolate this to 4 chips. No nasty signals between them that I've witnessed, but something is interfering. And you can see the wobbles there. So he's working on getting that fixed right now, and he kind of is isolated to 4 chips, and I'll keep an eye on any further updates that for next week. And then the last story here is Mike Miller, who's actually on our Discord as well and quite active, has had multiple requests to get the manual for the Dream editor assembler for the Dragon. Now, that was their premier editor assembler, kind of like Microworks or Edtasm was for the CoCo side. And I guess the version for tape, the manual had never been scanned and uploaded before. So he's actually uploaded to the Dragon 3264 owners group on Facebook. He's got 2 versions in PDF format in there. He's got a raw one, which is nice and small, about a meg. And he's got a much bigger one that actually is fully indexed and searchable. So if you want to look up something on there, you can. I decided to load up just so you can kind of see what it looks like. Here's the non-searchable one, so a nice short one. And it's 72 pages long. But it kind of shows you how to use the assembler, a little bit about 6809 and registers and how to do tracings and stack dumps and how the condition code register works and blah, 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 blah. So there's a bunch of stuff on there. But this was one that I know a lot of people had mentioned was kind of the premier one, or what, at least one of the premier ones on the Dragon. Since as far as I know, I don't think Microworks or Surcomp ported their assemblers over to the Dragon. So they kind of have their own infrastructure there for doing that kind of thing. And that's it for the news this week.
No.
Oh,
I got a stupid question.
I have to give you guys some time to go to the Amigos there and contribute to the Children's Hospital Network.
I got a stupid question. You know, like back in the day when they made gasoline, you know, they had certain standards and it might have been crudely made. And then now
I hate to tell you this, but they still make gasoline.
Yeah,
I know, but now when they make gasoline, they've got all these little flavors of it, you know, and it gets refined to a higher specs or stuff.
Right. They don't make gasoline, they make motor fuel.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is with electricity, I know that it's like 60 cycles or whatever, but
here it is. Yeah.
Does it ever, is it, you know, has it been found to be less potent or good as the electric that we used to make? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a stupid question, but maybe not.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, they can't decide what the voltage is going to be in the States. So it used to be 110, then it was 117, now it's 120.
I believe that the RMS, the optimal / nameplate RMS for the grid in the United States of America is 120 volts at the household outlet. So that's going to be 240 volts across a single phase coming into the house.
Okay.
And I believe that's on a delta. So yeah, you're looking at a 3-phase delta, 240 volts per phase.
Now,
one phase
what
comes
is Delta?
into the house.
Delta is the brand name of the box.
The shape of the inductors. You've got your delta, and then you've got your Y, and your Y is your 120 volt 120 volt Y, or 120 volt 3-phase, where you've got the central point, which is neutral, and then you've got the legs, each of those 120 degrees out of phase. Each leg from neutral to the phase is 120 volts, and then between the two phases you have 208 volts. But your delta is each leg between the phases is 240 volts. So that's what you get fed into it. And really the only benefit to and that ohmic losses change that. You get voltage loss across transmission lines, you know, however long your line is and things of that nature. That's going to happen. The only benefit to 60 versus 50 hertz really that I'm aware of is that the higher frequency means that the transformers are going to be physically smaller. This is why your switching power supplies can have transformers that are this big, whereas like when the CoCo, the transformer's this big, because the CoCo transformer is dealing with 60 hertz, your wall wart is dealing with, 100 kilohertz.
Exactly. Or it's a crappy capacitive dropper and you're all going to die.
Yeah, there you go.
Or get hacked by a foreign power, one of the two. Yeah.
Do we have any
deeper
awards for people explaining properly the stuff? Because you would get one.
Yeah, well, any deeper discussion would require a basically an electrician's course.
Hat.
Go off to CoCoTech or something. Yeah.
I happen to personally know and have at access, not right now, but within a few hours, a licensed electrician and a licensed HVAC person. So we can definitely continue this conversation.
Right.
I don't know if you saw Alan's comment in the chat. I'll read it since he's too shy to say it on the air, apparently. He says, everything Henry is saying does not matter to Texans because our grid is noisy junk that crashes constantly. So we do 85 to 150 volts. It sounds like static.
There you go. 85 to 150. It's good.
Nice. Well, so much for plus minus 10%.
Well, my question wasn't stupid then, evidently.
Well,
actually, what Alan said, it basically, I think it follows what you were asking, Ron, was like have the standards tightened on electricity like they have on gasoline, like getting rid of lead, et cetera.
Yeah,
and apparently everywhere but Texas, yes. Is that all right?
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was in SoCal about a decade ago, it was not uncommon for me to be under power lines and hear them going.
Well, yeah, but they just catch on fire. They're the right frequency. They just catch on fire.
That's
So it's like a Tesla car. Gotcha.
Those lines in a century.
What was that, Alan?
What was that, Alan?
Yeah, standing under a power line in California. That's PG&E. They haven't put any money into maintaining those lines in over a century.
Right.
Well, in SoCal, they kind of haven't had to because they never rust.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the standards of
fire in the forest.
I mean, the standards of power in the North America hasn't changed since, Nikola Tesla and Westinghouse had their disagreement.
I mean, I guess you could argue the last change was in the 70s when we went to 120 volts from 117.
Well, out here, we don't have telephone poles around our homes.
Yeah, ours here are all underground.
It's all buried, yeah.
Yeah, and, you just wonder, if it's raining and you start feeling that kind of vibration or something,
If the worms come popping up, don't walk out there.
Especially if they have a trail of smoke following them as they're flying through the air. Yeah.
Not sure if earthquake or power outage.
Or power surge.
The Roadrunner was faster than the Coyote when it's not really.
Right, but you ain't gonna outrun that lightning spark. So.
That's right.
Yeah, for those of you that have uninterruptible power supplies near your computer, there are several brands of them that have little monitors in them that you can query from your computer using the management program.
Yeah, mine has that.
Find out if it's giving or taking.
Chart it over a month and watch. At certain times of the day, your electric company will step the voltages up and down because they know that they're supposed to have left for work and that they're about to come back and things like that.
So they wash your clothes before 3.
Soap opera hours and late at night. And, but you can also, on some of these UPSs, you can actually look and see how crap the power you're getting from the power company actually is. The voltage sags, the brownouts, the spiky noise, pops, all of it, depending on the UPS, it'll capture it all and you can just watch it.
All right. Because of that, don't you think that wear and tears on old computer equipment,
no, because you put that on the behind the UPS. The UPS is the disposable thing that takes the abuse.
Well, if you don't have one.
Well, then, you plugged it in the wall, you're going to get basically the garbage that comes out of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your better UPSs will automatically either boost or buck if it gets beyond, like a 10% range.
Right.
Smooth it out, basically, yeah.
Yeah, they will kind of keep it for constant voltage.
And go to battery.
And then you look at electronics like the CoCo actually has a switching supply. It's 5 volts, is frequency regulated by the salt chip. So it can sag, the AC can sag quite a bit before the CoCo sags.
Starts to carry.
They thought about that, back
they adjusted for it basically. Yeah.
I mean, here my normal is 124 volts.
They're from Texas. They're used to our crappy grid.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Tandy
Yeah,
Towers. 85 volts every Tuesday. Sure.
So, and most electronic equipment is designed to be run at either a plus or minus of 10% without issues. Beyond that,
maybe
get some issues.
So when
and also
when Bob,
can have international.
when Bob makes his computer run off the not off the current, off the USB, he's actually getting better electric to his motherboard than he would if we were plugged in the wall?
Well, no, the same thing.
He's using an outside power supply to regulate it.
Because the CoCo is using a switching regulated supply to get its 5 volts. So is the USB lump.
So it doesn't matter where it gets.
So it's kind of the same thing. We're fixing the power before we put it into our electronics.
Pretty much anything north of the salt chip doesn't really matter as long as you're not undervolting the salt chip.
Right.
Is that why they go?
So,
They go because they're 40 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But it's not.
And it's an analog power management chip. So you've got analog power management facilities in there. Just like transistors decide to go, I can see a salt chip doing that.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's all I have for the news. So anybody else got anything else for the tail end of the show
I
here.
was just going to add, using that PD power supply does give me one little layer of protection before it gets inside the color computer.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, ready for the outro then?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Roll that beautiful footage.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server.
CoCo forever.
Okay. Well, I think this is the time where we just all say goodbye.
Yeah.
We made it.
See you all next week. Expect a special presentation from Tim, Brian, and me if things go according to plan and we all can make it.
Sweet.
Curtis, you were 10 minutes short of the 4 hours.
Yeah, I stretched it a little bit, but
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
don't forget to check out the Amigathon and donate to the Children's Hospital if you can.
Oh yeah, since I still got them up and running here, let's oh come on.
See where they're at?
Really?
Best.
Ad?
Now they're in an ad.
And 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
So they got about
Thomas.
2.25 hours left, I think.
Okay, they are at now 42.14.
Cool.
They were at $4,019 when we looked at it earlier.
And get your virtual CoCoFest presentations together.
And so now the show is over. We all need to go over there and start filling up the coffers.
Do
No trouble.
So that's how we let them know that we're done, that they're going to get a boost.
Yeah, so look up Amiga's Retro Gaming either on Twitch or YouTube, whichever is your preferred platform for live streaming, and you can join the show there.
So we're off.
And Amigathon.com for donations.
We're off the air right now.
No.
Nope.
No.
Let me know when, because I got a question.
Okay. Bye.